just a ride. Whoa, oh, it's just a ride.
Welcome to jar number 30. Who's a 30?
I don't
30 for 30.
know. 30 is when your insurance goes down. That's good.
Yeah. Fucking.
That's a bonus.
Welcome to Just a Ride. I am the P-Ba.
30. Dirty Gertie, blind 30.
Dirty Gertie. Who's 30?
That's a bingo thing.
Oh.
Come on, you guys are old. You should know.
God damn, bro. All right. We've been talking here for like an hour and now I'm like, I forgot what to talk
It's the
about.
atomic number of zinc. Don't they call that a pearl? 30 years of marriage, isn't that a pearl?
That could be, yeah.
I don't know. I've been married lots of times, and I don't think I've even made a decade yet.
I'm halfway. Yeah. Fucking A. All right, well, welcome to Jar 30. I am Zach Flanary, the P-Ba.
I am Shaiden Hutchman, the Poobah.
And I am Jeff Getchell, the Bear.
Bear.
I won't do a ba.
He doesn't want to do a ba. So.
Bah humbug.
Yep. He's the contrarian of the contrarians, so fucking A, whatever.
I got to win at something in life.
We'll let him have it.
Yeah. So, hi, guys. It's been a couple weeks since we saw each other. What have you guys been doing?
I'm fishing a lot.
You son of a...
Fishing, not catching. I've been fishing. Yeah, I don't know. I got skunked 3 times in a row, steelhead fishing, which is just so rare. But the last 2 times that I fished, actually, the guy that I go fishing with, Greg, Greg Giroux, he got sick, so he wasn't able to go. So I'm like, well, I'm just going to go down and I'm going to go down to the bank and bank cast. And it wasn't until I got to the bank and got ready out and got out there that I realized I don't know how to cast a level wind reel. And there's a spinning reel where the reel pops out off the front.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Okay,
that's
but
we're at.
Anyone that fishes a level wind reel, it's a level wind. It goes across the top basically, back and forth. And I've used that rod and that reel, that style, so many times in my life, but always from a boat. Never once have I had to cast it. So I got to learn something, which is how to cast a level wind reel.
Did you YouTube video it, or did you?
No. I just fucked it up a lot, like a 3-year-old, and just got wrasse nets and stuff a couple times. But I got it figured out.
Hell yeah.
But I still didn't catch any fish. But the funny part about it is
the fish were all laughing at you. They're like, fucking that guy. I'm not falling for that guy's shit.
That guy sucks. We're not going to take his bait. So the river that I was fishing isn't super long. You can cast as far as you can cast on it, not make it to the other side. But there was somebody else that was on the other side from me. I was fishing. Nobody was there. 2 times, both days, somebody came across from the river, casted 3 or 4 times, and we're basically fishing the same hole, and they both caught a goddamn steelhead.
Damn.
Which...
They were laughing at you.
I'm
They're
supposed to be mad
it.
about that, but it's still awesome to see somebody be successful and catch a fish. And I was still cheering them on, and it kept me there.
If that was your dinner, though, it would have been like, I'm gonna have to go kill those guys.
Him. Yeah, I'd probably shoot him. If it was life or death.
This is pre-apocalypse, by the way. Okay.
What's for dinner, darling?
Whatever they call
people with the side of fish.
Took my dad out fishing, or Greg actually took me and my dad out fishing, and we went up to Pierce, and then Dad worked out with me one night. And then Dad ended up back in the hospital, which sucked.
Yeah.
But he's fine. But the guy had, 3 abdomen surgeries within a year and a half. So he ended up just kind of having an intestinal blockage, which apparently is pretty normal.
Surgery on account of surgeries.
Yeah. But very common. He ended up not having to have a surgery either. So but he did have to spend a day in the hospital. They were talking about a week, and I was stressed. I tried to be funny. I'm like, well, at least we know it's not your bladder, So
that was removed in case somebody too soon. But Grant's listening like, it is too soon. Yeah. It hurts right now.
I'm not sure if his wife is going to let him go to Pierce with me anymore.
No shit, every time.
The last 3 times he's gone to Pierce, he's come home and had to go to the hospital. And I'm sure that, I can, the math on that would say it's probably something that I've done or that I've pushed him too hard.
But he loves it, so good luck getting him to stop.
You don't have to have a bladder to still wear the pants. That's all I'm saying.
That's true.
So, as far as fishing in the Northwest, have you ever fished outside of the Northwest? Because we have amazing fishing around here.
No, I grew up over in the Portland area, and Dad and I used to do a lot of fishing for sturgeon. And that's a feast or famine type fishing. What a cool fish.
Is it? I've never seen one.
They're very interesting.
They're huge, right? They can be.
Prehistoric creatures, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really cool, but they're really delicious too. You can broil them, bake them, fry them. Yeah, you can do all kinds of cool stuff with them.
Sturgeon gumbo, sturgeon stew, sturgeon on a stick.
But I hadn't done a whole lot of smaller river fishing over there. It was usually like the mouth of the Lewis or the Columbia boat stuff. I've never been out actually on the ocean myself.
No Puget Sound stuff.
It's just expensive to do. Unless you know somebody that has a boat that can handle that.
But you like adrenaline for like a swordfish or fucking. Somebody
amazing.
pulled out a great white out of somewhere recently. I think I'm sure it was Australia or something. But they were fishing and they pulled out a great. No, it wasn't Australia. It was like off the coast of the United States.
Dude, I
just heard it the other day.
My cousin, I believe
you guys
he was
ever eaten swordfish? Sorry to interrupt you.
at a restaurant. I
might have had
swordfish. I don't know if it's
sushi.
true.
I'm not sure though. I don't
It was
think so.
good. When I had it, I've only had it once, but it was like the consistency of a steak. Like it had a steak texture to it because they're just really muscular fish.
Have you guys ever had gator?
Yeah,
Dave and Eggers just had gator this week, and it tastes like chickeny fish.
I did, and it doesn't
Checks
taste
out.
like chicken. It's a similar texture, I suppose, but honestly, you can season it pretty easy, but the flavor of it itself is super bland.
Exactly, it's very bland. Yeah.
I've never had gator. I've had turtle.
Ooh, that's not. Oh, in soup.
Yeah.
Turtle soup's supposed to be really good.
The big chunk of turtle neck or some shit. You're like, ooh.
I mean, there's a lot of. Cows are cute too, but I like myself a big fat hamburger. So
I like how everything tastes like dinosaur.
Cows are assholes, dude. They're not
Do you guys
cute.
notice that?
everything tastes like dinosaur.
Yeah. It's like everything tastes like chicken, and chicken are dinosaurs. So everything tastes like dinosaur.
If you ever feel bad about eating beef because cows are cute, just spend a season living on a ranch dealing with cows. You'll be so fucking ready to eat those assholes.
So on the on the dinosaur
Not even a
thing,
season, I think.
So this is about Adam. So he had the bone marrow transplant, and when they do the transplant, it's literally just a blood infusion, and he was an autologous donor, which means that when he was in remission, they aspirated bone marrow and froze it in DMSO. And then when he relapsed, he had to go to Fred Hutch and go through all the chemo and radiation, all that. Well, when it came to transplant day, the news was there and everything because we had to do all the fundraising to get the money so we could have the bone marrow.
This is a big story.
Transplant. So I'm kind of open up a can of worms. But the whole point is the dinosaur thing. As soon as that the transfusion hit into his bloodstream, he gagged really hard because DMSO, it tastes fishy, right? It smells super like clam and fish. And that was his comment was that it tastes like dinosaurs. So to hear that from a 3-year-old going through what they're going through, it was a very heartwarming moment that ended up on the news.
Tastes like dinosaurs.
How do you know? What have you done?
This child has a window into the past. A few minutes. Crazy. All right. Well, have you fished much in the? I know you fish from time to time, right?
I don't really fish.
No?
I'm a horrible fisherman.
Okay.
I've been fishing, but it was just by the grace of buddies that decided to drag me out and let me bumble around. And my brother Will, who was on, he's a good fisherman. He keeps threatening to teach me, and I keep cleverly resisting his attempts to do so. But I don't know. I like fishing, but it's just kind of. It's not like the first thing that leaps into my mind when I think about going doing shit outdoors. I'd rather be moving around than sitting waiting for things to happen and just moving my arms.
Oh, but you know what?
It's a fun. If you're with someone, it's pretty fun. It's probably really meditative if you're alone. And I remember being with my grandpa on the boat trolling, just a few times. It gets quiet and you get kind of peaceful and you might have a good conversation. It was like the closest I was ever to one of my grandpas was. After then he took a shit off the side of the boat and I was like, I'm mortified. Is that what I'm supposed to do?
Too close.
Not happening,
Too close.
bro.
We were getting close. Now we're too close.
That's your poop floating around. Brown trout coming through.
Maybe I'm different, but whether I'm fishing with somebody, generally it's there's no interruptions. Unless you're catching a fish, so the conversation can get really good and really deep, and you can actually learn a lot about the person that you're with. Even somebody who you thought you knew for a long time, you can learn some really detailed things about their past and take something from it. But also, like, I was alone this whole time, and there's something that's just really special about being alone with your own thoughts, whether they're positive or negative, being able to absorb those and really get into them without interruption. There's nothing but value out of that.
Oh, man.
I don't think.
I don't think so either. Yeah,
So-
very zen. I wonder, how people golf and do business?
Yeah.
I wonder if it'd be interesting for people to fish and do business. A couple of people that want to partner together. It's like, hey, let's go fishing.
I'm sure that happens.
I bet it does.
Yeah.
I bet it does. I'm sure that's what most of those deep ocean fishing that's super expensive. That's
Sure.
like, all right, we're merging our company. Let's go see if you can catch a shark and not cry about it. Let's
Well,
see.
and there's something. I mean, and when you hook into a steelhead, it's a fun fight, and they're such a majestic fish and so strong and just so beautiful.
I watched those
it's
videos,
incredible.
and I can't imagine a human like me even out there, where it's like, I'm afraid of all these things. I'm afraid of these people. I'm afraid of the fish. I'm afraid of the ocean. This boat sucks. I need to go.
That's my only good fishing story. Is when I was a kid, I got taken out steelhead fishing, and I got one on the line, and it was wild, and I fought it really hard, and it got right up to the shallows, and I swear this fucker looked at me and spat my hook and just fucking splashed away.
This is pretty.
That's
Kind of
cool.
what happened. And what you did, I can tell you exactly what you did. You dropped your rod tip just a little bit, it slacked that line, and popped the hook right
It
out.
was that moment. It's
Probably.
just your technique.
There's a whole lot that goes into. I mean, first you got to get the fish to bite, right? And then you've got to battle that thing and get him close to the shore or to the boat. And then you got to get it netted or get it actually into your hands. There's a whole lot of skill that goes in to getting that accomplished.
I had no idea. Do you pay attention to the professional fishing at all? Have you ever paid attention to that stuff, like pro bass fishermen and
You
stuff?
know, I mean, you can only watch so many people catch bass. I mean, bass fishing is huge and it's a lot of fun to do, but I don't really enjoy watching fishing just like I don't enjoy watching golf.
Golf, right? Well, similar guys, I guess. But I went to school with a guy named Luke Clausen, who is a like world-renowned professional. I just made me think of this, and I remember him. He was young when he was good at it too. It was like, I mean, just out of high school or a little bit out of high school, it seemed like he just went off. And that's when I realized, I was like, there's technique and you can be good at fishing. Like, how do you get good at fishing? And this guy was getting like boat sponsorships and all these different things. And some people that listen and that like professional fishing are like, Luke Clausen? Was he cool? It's like the girls love Luke Clausen, let me tell you.
Yeah,
Anyway.
you get good at fishing by being very patient.
Yeah.
It's one of those things like playing guitar. How do you get good at it? By being
Sucking
patient
a
and
lot,
doing it
man.
and sucking a lot.
Yeah.
And fishing's kind of the same way. Yeah, you can get lucky and all that, but it takes a lot of skill to learn. You're trying to learn the behaviors of something that lives in the water that we know nothing about.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why, fishermen tend to hold on to their secrets.
Right.
You know.
Although YouTube, there's a lot of guys.
Yeah,
on
but there's a lot
videos
of guys
now
that
are like,
give it up.
here's my secret, and here's my secret spot. And it's like, you son of a bitch. There are no secret spots now.
Real quick, back on the shark thing. So my cousin Ryan, who lives, and his wife Molly, they live in Pierce now. But they were, I believe, I think they were living in Alaska, and they had canoes to go out on the ocean with. What? And they would fish out of canoes in Alaska. Yeah, tough.
Human
badass
beings
stuff.
are so fucking brave.
And I believe it was his wife that caught a shark.
in a canoe.
And I'm sorry, I said a canoe, but a kayak is what I meant.
In a kayak. In a kayak.
Yeah, like an
shark.
ocean kayak. Yeah, I don't know how the hell you land that fish from a kayak.
I wouldn't.
But she did it.
I certainly wouldn't.
Yeah.
Even if our whole tribe depended on it, I'd be like, nah, I died. Sorry. I passed out, shit myself. The shark ate me.
So both
Sorry.
Ryan and Molly, they're very, very bright, very, very tough people, and fortunately, when I move, they're going to be part of my everyday life, and
Yeah.
I'm excited to be able to learn a lot of things from both of them. They're amazing people.
Heck yeah. It seems like you're going out to live in a new tribe, is what it is. You're like out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
it. And Godspeed, cunt, as we say. All right, I want to know some police stories, which means Shaiden and I have to. Police stories. Police stories. I'm a ghetto. Yeah, officer guy. Yeah. Bad boy. Give me the police. Woo.
Keep going.
I think we've been getting successively better. and
I mean, we've got a
better at
chorus. We need a bridge, and then we need some verses. And
that. We're gonna fucking come in
Well,
here with our
it's
guitars.
kind of
one these
ironic that you
episodes,
guys-
just, have a whole fucking.
I've got like
police
a
story
bunch
to tell.
upstairs. We should grab some.
It's kind of ironic that you guys actually just did that because this is things.
This is going to be the one thing he
This
hates.
isn't another prison pocket thing.
No, things not to say to the police if you don't want to look like a douchebag.
Police stories, tell us your stories. Hey, policeman, tell us your stories while you're getting gas.
Like
Sorry.
like singing a song, such as yourself.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
I think you would have liked it.
I feel like he's liking it now. Look at him. He loves it. This is your song. I mean, how many police story
did
songs
this
have
for you.
So-
Officer Getchell in the title?
These aren't in any particular order, just some stuff that I thought about. Don't say that I pay your taxes to a police officer.
Or pay your salary.
Or pay your salary because you pay taxes.
Right.
When I first started hearing that, actually, I worked on Indian reservation. They don't pay taxes.
Right. And then,
So,
yeah.
and I did actually. So that was always very confusing to me.
There is some math there that's
And-
like, well, actually, I'm paying to be here.
And even coming to this area and working here, people would say, I pay your salary because I pay taxes. Well, technically, I live here and I pay taxes too. So really, I'm just working at a discounted rate to try and solve your stupid fucking problems because you can't do it.
I feel that that's not a good tack to take, like with anybody. Like even if you are the boss of an employee and you're like, listen, I sign your paychecks, like that's not
been
going
said a
to
lot.
yield great results.
No, people aren't automatically like,
Even
oh,
if
that's
it's-
so endearing.
Yeah, even if it's true, they're going to be like, well, maybe you won't anymore. Fuck you.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that followed by don't tell an officer that you're going to have his job. First off, no, you're not. 27 years of hearing that nobody took my job, and if you think that, and if you're implying that you can do it better than me, if you could do it better than me, you would have already tried, and you probably failed. So don't be a cunt. You couldn't do my job. You couldn't handle. You can't handle the stress of your own life, and you had to call me to come handle it. It just didn't go your way. Boom. Just because you called and it didn't go your way doesn't mean I'm doing a bad job. It just means that you didn't get what you wanted.
Do you guys-
Getch, I think they mean it in the colloquial British manner. It
doesn't
they
really
will
matter.
have
Real
you
quick,
fired.
Doesn't this feel like 27 years and he's been
This
wanting
is
to say that
27 years.
this whole time? Like,
You.
I feel like a
Absolutely.
deep breath, like,
All right,
okay.
let her rip, buddy.
Yeah, let's
Go
hear
ahead.
Here's the other
Get it
thing.
out.
Okay,
Sit back and grab
if you're
some
at a
popcorn,
bar,
friends.
if you're at a bar or any public place and a police officer shows up in uniform, okay, do not, I repeat, do not be that fucking douchebag that either raises your hand and says, "It wasn't me," or point at your friend and go, "Hey, you did it. That's who you're looking for right there." You know that hot feeling that you feel in your face after you do that? It's an appropriate feeling because not only does the officer think you're a fucking douchebag, everybody around you realizes what a cunt you are and how stupid that was that you just did that.
You know that on the ride-alongs, the one ride-along I went with you, that happened twice.
Yeah.
We went to the gas station one time, and then I think someone just came up to the car and was like, "What?"
And you
like,
can
we're
come
not
up with something original. I don't know. Just tell me I'm a fucker. I'm good with that. But don't say something stupid like that.
But you know that
just
people
look like
get
an
nervous
asshole.
as fuck because they don't know what to say to you. They're like, "Hi, thank you for stuff." All the things. They don't know what to say to you.
Coming from someone who's a nervous talker, Flanary?
No, maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, and you
true,
can
I'm the
only
same way.
you
I'm
can
just
only
like,
give you can only give so many courtesy laughs on that shit to the point where it's like, shut the fuck up. You're an idiot. Go
Right,
away.
right. Oh,
Leave
yeah.
me alone. You bother me.
It's,
All right.
it's a fine line, as I'm someone who deeply appreciates like shitty overplayed jokes on purpose, like like dad jokes, like
Right,
the,
right, yeah.
the crappier the better. But there's a fine line between that and like going up to an employee in a retail store and being like, "You working hard or hardly working?" It's like, I'm hardly keeping myself from punching you in the mouth right now.
You're on the list of people I want to
Never once was that ever
building.
funny. Nobody actually thinks it's funny. If there's ever a laugh, it's a courtesy laugh to save you from the fucking embarrassment that you should be feeling when you're the douchebag that does that.
The first time
don't do
someone
that.
did-
Some of those are good though. Like somebody's like, "I'm hungry." You're like, "Hi, hungry. I'm for Shaiden."
But this
never
is
been funny,
specific-
but it's still funny for
specifically
me.
the cop one.
The first
Don't
one
do
in
that.
like Scotland Yard in like the 16th century or some shit. The first guy that was like, "Wasn't me, officer." That one was probably. He was like, "Oh, you got me."
Yeah.
But that.
That was a.
Then
Can you
I-
do that accent again?
That was like Irish.
That's really good.
Fucking you got me. There you go.
Well,
Fuck. I can only
and
do it
on
with a
that-
gravel. I don't know why now.
And on that note, how many people, I mean, I was pretty involved in the music industry and everybody knew what I did. And how many people that were in the music industry, I mean, they wanted
Scotland Yard's in
they
England.
wanted to be
Sorry.
my friend.
I'm so stupid.
They wanted to be my friend, but they didn't know how to act around me. Even off duty, and they would just have that awkwardness of just not knowing how to talk to me.
Yeah. You and I, when we first met, we just started talking about shit. I don't remember it being like.
It was almost like a weird bromance.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
it was.
for
But
sure.
there wasn't any. You got to tell me. Did I say any cheese dick thing?
No.
Okay.
No,
Because I
'cause
felt
I
like we
wouldn't
just
be your-
started
I
talking
wouldn't be your
about.
friend
Yeah,
if
we
you
just
did.
started talking about music.
I don't think I did either. I was just like, when I found out you were a cop, I was like, dope.
Yeah, he
Like, I don't-
wasn't
I
in
don't- I don't
uniform when you
care.
met him, huh? That's right. I met you in uniform
Yeah.
at a gig that I was playing, and you were there to deal with some of the dumb.
No, I
drunkies.
was there actually to pop in to see somebody else play.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Oh, that's right.
I was just, it was in my area, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to pop in and see them play. And
That's right.
Then you and I gazed across the, it was so romantic. It really was. We
talked-
were just looking at each other like, I fucking know you, dude. It was just that kind of thing. And then remember, you ended up wanting to interview me for your magazine.
That's right. That's
how we
always
ended up meeting.
my in with people. Like back in the day, I was like, I think I did that with you too. I'm like, hey, you should talk about yourself in my house, and we'll talk, and I'll record it and put it in a.
Well, then we drove all the way down.
And also, I play.
We drove all the way downtown.
You play music.
Yeah.
What if we did that together?
I love how that worked out.
We drove all the way downtown to meet for lunch to discuss that. And we realized we lived less than a mile apart from each other. That was pretty funny.
Yeah. We went to Molly's for breakfast. That's just still the only time I've ever been there.
Molly's is good.
It is fucking good. I don't know why I'm not.
I was kind of like inwardly stoked when I found out that you were a police officer because, and this might shine some light on how I'm occasionally shallow in the way that I think, but it wasn't the basis of our friendship. But all I'm saying is if you can manage to have a friend who's a cop, a friend who's a lawyer, a friend who's a doctor or nurse,
fair enough,
and a friend who's really good at like accounting type math, those are the people you would. I mean, if you want to pick your allies based on their assets, that's all I'm saying.
Right. Like this guy's a tough guy too. Fucking.
And I just thought you were an interesting cunt. I can remember just like, dude, you're a fucking interesting guy, and I need somebody like you in my life. Let's get together and hang out.
We artsy fartsy folk. I mean, Shaiden, you're an outdoorsy guy, so you can handle your own. But we generally don't have much in the apocalypse. It's like we'll sing a song about it. They're like, shut the fuck up. We don't need a guitar right now.
We're gonna bring the zombies.
Yeah, we need your guitar as wood right now. We need to burn that shit. No, please God.
We're gonna use the strings for garrote.
What about art? Shut the fuck up. Zombie poop.
Okay, back on this.
Okay.
Fine.
All right. Again, in public, if you see a police officer and your child is acting out, do not, and I fucking repeat, do not threaten your child that the police officer is going to take them to jail. If you do that, you are a shitty fucking parent and you are a cunt. If you've ever done it, recognize that. Change your behavior. I am not.
I've seen that one time.
It is
in my
not
life,
the police officer. It is not the police officer's responsibility to raise your fucking child. It is yours. And when you do that, all you do is make them afraid of the person that society at least says they should be reaching out to when they have a serious crisis in their life, an emergency situation. So now you've just made us.
Are you saying we're starting the fuck the police thing kind of early?
Yeah. Yeah. So. Yeah, don't be a cunt. Don't do that.
I've seen that happen in real life one time. Did that happen a bunch to you? Please linger on that for a second. Did that happen to you? Like a bunch of times?
Yeah,
you're looking at me like okay.
Yeah, literally hundreds of times. Like anytime I would have to go to a grocery store and get lunch or, go buy some food. There's always some kid just acting a fool inside of a grocery store, which is really fun to watch.
Okay, so as a police officer, would you, speaking for all police officers, like you can, was it awful just to go into public?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
so all
because
police officers are like, oh fuck. Whenever they want to get gassed, they're like, oh fuck.
Dude, I couldn't. Yeah, I couldn't go like.
Guys, remember this. Next time you see a police officer, be like, I'm so sorry. I don't want to say anything stupid because I learned.
So we would go to one of the local like 24-hour gas mart stores that had some tables and stuff to go take breaks. When we, 4 or 5 of us would try and take a break together. There either somebody would come over and bitch that we were all taking a break. Like they had some fucking authority again because I'm a taxpayer,
right?
Or you could just see the vultures. They want to come over and they want to talk to you so fucking bad. They just can't.
You're watching their body
say.
language. Their feet are pointed
and
at you, and they're like twitching.
Over,
like, oh god, I just want to say some shit.
It's
about
almost like,
stuff.
are they going to come try and shoot me, or what do they want to say? And then it's always, can I come ask you a dumb question? No, you can't. Please don't. Like I'm on break. Save your dumb question for like 15 minutes. That's always one of my responses. Or, sure, why not? Everybody else asks me dumb questions. What's your dumb question? And it was always a dumb question. Never once did have anything good.
Never
or
being like,
tell me about a ticket you got in 1996.
Fear of relativity.
Yeah. Was it me? And the last one. There's this assumption that every police officer is an absolute gun maniac. Like we just
I remember you telling me. I know where the cat.
Everybody wants to, and not
the Jack
everybody.
of the Box guy.
Yeah, that's right. The Jack of the Box guy was a really good example. I'm in the fucking drive-through, and all he wants to do is tell me about all the guns that he has, and I'm just looking at him like, I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. Like I own like 3 guns, dude, and I'm not.
And they're all different, and they're all for one reason or another. Yeah. They're all for specific reasons.
Yeah, it doesn't impress me that you know about guns. We're not all a bunch of gun freaks. I mean, some people are into guns, but most of us really aren't. and all it does is alert us that you're probably a fucking nut, and we should probably be watching you.
That's the vibe I got from the Jack in the Box guy.
Yeah, and he was definitely on that level.
Yeah.
Those are the big ones.
It's kind of like being a professional chef and being like a pan freak when you go home. You're like, no, that's my tool at work. But you're just like, I got 50 pans. I got all the pans. It's like, why do you have all the pans, dude? You work. That's your job.
It is kind of interesting. Like, I have more of a lens on lives of police officers just by virtue of being your friend over the years than a lot of people do. But I still occasionally notice in myself those like knee-jerk reactions, like when I got fucking hit by that car last week. Or I told you about that shit, right? Did I tell you guys about that?
No. We haven't talked for 2 weeks. How did I know about that?
No. Okay, well, I'll tell that story in a second.
Okay,
but like it happened. It wasn't like a full like knock me on my ass kind of thing. But anyway, I'll get there. So, but then I was like walking on the other side of the street, like right after it had happened, and I saw Spokane City police officer in their cruiser, like waiting at the stoplight, and like some piece inside of me was like, go over there and tell that guy that's the person that just hit you, and their license plate, and like, and then the rest of my rational brain kicked in. It's like, no, fucking don't.
They don't care.
Don't go running up on that guy's car while he's fucking waiting at a stoplight to tell him about somebody who
waving
just fucking ran into you with their car.
I do have.
Although, would you have appreciated him doing that? It's like, you want to know, don't you?
No.
That's what I mean.
No, one police officer's like, oh, please tell me all the crime.
He's
I
not
want to know all the
care,
crime.
nor does he want me running across the street towards his car while he's waiting at a stoplight.
No, that's recommended.
It's just like going to a call, and I'm getting in the area, and then there's the person that called is just like flapping their arm, like you already gave me the address and the description of who you are. You do not have to flap your arms like a fucking chicken on crack. I see you. I'm gonna get out of my car and I'm gonna talk to you. Fucking lax. Right. It's gonna be okay. We'll be all right.
I think tensions are high though.
I realize that I'm going to everybody's crisis at the time, whether I think it's not a crisis. But trust me, a lot of times they're really excited that they get to talk to the police, because it's this weird, everybody hates me, but then there's that whole rock star thing to it too, where people want to imitate us or stalk us.
That's what I was going to say. It's like, for some reason, we don't see certain people as people. We don't see our teachers in school as people. When you see them in the grocery store, you're like, holy fuck, you live outside the school. And same with police officers, same with
anybody
rock stars.
Working when they're on the clock. It's just you're conditioned to not see them as people. They're just like a thing. They're a part of a service.
Yeah, and even, you're a machine basically. Service me.
Yeah. And even I talk a lot about the profession that I had, because it was the majority of my life. I did my job more than I lived my own life for 27 years with all the overtime and call outs and bullshit like that. So there's a lot of my life to draw from. There's a lot of experiences, and I got a lot of knowledge. But this is now retired for 9 months now. I'm just now getting to be Jeff, Jeff the guy.
Nobody likes you anymore.
Yeah, and everybody fucking hates me now.
Sick of your shit.
No, seriously. So I'm just now starting to get kind of my own identity, and it's interesting to deal with, actually. But I like it. I really do. But it's almost relearning who I am again. Yeah. And I didn't choose to be. I chose to be Jeff the police officer, but I didn't choose to be identified that way. Everybody else did that. Like I said, even my own mother would be like, "Hi, this is my son Jeff. He's a cop." That's the first thing to come out of her mouth anytime introducing me to somebody, which is just fucking weird.
My mom was never like, "Hi, this is my son Zach. He works at Best Buy."
Yeah.
Now, one time, not proud of me.
One last situation. Okay.
And I got a follow-up question. Then we got to hear about you getting hit by a car. Holy fuck!
If you're at a party and the police officer shows up, as flattering as it may be, do not ask if they're the fucking stripper. It's as charming as that is.
How often did that happen? A lot, huh?
All the fucking time.
You're like, would a stripper carry this gun? Do you think? This looks like a real gun, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You can't afford me.
And arrogantly, most of the time, I'm fairly V'd out. It could be a possibility.
You're like, I'll do with it.
But when I'm 50 years old, obviously I'm not the fucking stripper.
Oh, come on. You don't look 50. Whatever that's supposed to mean.
Some folks might be into that, all right?
Yeah, everybody's got their
2.7,
but not everybody.
That's a 2.85. That's a shit. What the fuck am I talking about? That's a 187. I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So now we just told people what not to do. Give some people, I don't even know if there's an answer to this, but some insight into when you see a police officer and you feel tempted to speak to them, take it from there.
Be polite.
Okay.
Clearly, pay attention to what the officer's surrounding is and what his face is saying.
Don't
If
sneak
you
up on him in the dark.
Don't come up on his back.
Gotcha.
Grab his gun. I got your gun. Here you go. Take it back.
When he's pumping gas,
kidding,
don't do
guys.
that.
This is Jookies. Waka waka.
You can maybe ask, do you have a minute that I could talk to you? That and
Can I tell you about the Lord?
yes
Sorry.
or no? Yeah, can I tell you about the Lord Jesus Christ? Yeah. Or it's okay to just say, hey, I just wanted to say thank you, or, I appreciate it, or hey, I hope you're having a good day. Keep it short, keep it brief, because usually we're just going call to call to call. We got other shit going on.
Right.
If we are on a break, recognize we're on a break. Just like at Best Buy, if you're on a break, you probably don't want someone going, hey, I got a question about a computer.
Yeah, well, at
for the
Best
most part,
Buy,
just
we
kind of
put hoodies over our uniforms.
let them be.
So nobody knows.
Say
Yeah,
if you really got to say something, just say something polite and let them be.
Right.
For the most part. I mean, unless if you got something dire going on and you're going to generate a call, that's a different story.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. What's the worst non-cliche thing, if you can even think of one, but have you heard, what was the worst approach that you've had from somebody? Or the best approach? Like either or.
Fuck, I don't really have.
There's probably too many to
I don't have really a
pin down,
a good
but
example.
What would be a perfect way to approach somebody? Not.
Yeah.
Leave them alone.
Probably not. Just let them be. Other than, I did have some really nice things happen.
Some people, when they see a police officer, are overwhelmed with like, oh, you remind me of things that make me happy about the world. Thank you, sir. Or, and the opposite.
Or adversely. Yeah. I didn't really mind someone telling me to fuck off. But they're always shocked if they're like, yeah, fuck you. And I flip them off back. They're like, you can't do that. I'm like, I just fucking did. What? Like, who says I can't? Yeah. Right.
Is there
Call the cops?
Who will you call? Coast Guard? Probably Coast Guard.
Like,
Go ahead, call them. Hello?
I may have already told this story, but this was...
I think it's fine.
Yeah.
I may have already told the story, but this was shortly after the riots. I was working the road and I was taking somebody to jail, and this person who happened to be 300 pounds and have blue hair, I didn't choose the person. Mm-hmm. They decided to flip me off as I was driving down the road, and I had someone in the back of my car going to the People Zoo. I went around the block
As one does.
and came back around to that person just so I could flip them off back.
Oh,
okay,
nice.
probably childish, but so well worth
Pretty
it.
fucking
And the guy in the
funny,
back of my
though.
car was dying. He thought that was pretty awesome.
That's pretty funny.
That's pretty
Probably
cool.
because you told him what was going on, like play by play. It's like, well, we're going to go take a left here, and this is why, because this guy's going to get a
Just
finger.
a little bit detour because I didn't get to flip that person off. They caught me off guard, so I got to go around.
He didn't get to
and-
see my
Yeah.
giant hot dog for a digit. He needs to see how much he can actually see.
It would have been even like the cherry on top if like right at the moment that you flipped the bird, you just like flicked your lights once. Just like, what's that? You can't do that, can you? I brought a light show.
Well, fuck. All right, so don't really approach a police officer when he's working,
Yeah, kind of just leave him alone.
unless there's an
Unless
emergency.
you genuinely need something, or unless you just want to be polite and just say, hey, you know what? Have a good day.
Right.
Well, it's just like
'Cause that's
people,
kinda
people
nice.
are people, man. I mean, you got like it's weird to just approach people cold, no matter who they are.
I know.
Like then add on to you're approaching somebody who's on the clock and dealing with dangerous situations every day. It's just like, yeah, be extra careful about how you approach those kind of people. Not from a self-preservation sense, but just out of a sense of fucking consideration for them. Like, I'm not going to walk up to some random person on the street necessarily and just be like, hey, I have comments about you and your existence. Like it's weird.
Right.
Well, and on the flip side,
How does the world work? I don't know.
on the flip side of people trying to be nice, they try to give you things. Well, at least our department policy and pretty widely within the state of Washington, we're not allowed to accept things from people, which is kind of bullshit. Not that I want stuff, but people are going out of the way trying to be nice. Hey, I was in
All
the
the
store and I
heroin
bought
you could have taken home
I
with you,
bought
dude.
you a cookie and a coffee, and we're like, it puts us in a really awkward situation. I mean, the idea is that they're doing it because someday I'm going to pay it forward in their life, and they're not going to get in trouble for something, which is just
Impossible in a
fucking
giant
bullshit.
city,
It's
yeah.
just
You
ridiculous.
wouldn't remember.
So I mean, flat, I'd be like, thank you very much, I
Right.
appreciate it,
But then
and I
you're-
would take it.
But then you're tempted to
Listen,
like,
if you're gonna brag,
But it puts
me,
us in a
you're gonna
bad
have to do
position.
better than a coffee and a cookie.
right? I'm not going to keep you out of jail for that, or take your phone call.
But
at
it
3 in the
always
morning.
was an awkward conversation, because if I would have seen if a supervisor would have seen me do that, I actually would have been in trouble. But I don't want to be a cunt to somebody that's trying to be be nice to me, and they don't know.
Well,
they're
it's-
literally trying to be a nice person. We don't get that very often.
Fundamentally, it's again like this weird position. It's government again putting you in a weird situation that's untenable and ridiculous. It's like,
Yeah.
don't be a human here, but deal with humans.
Right.
Have fun.
Right.
And it's like, okay, government thinks. I don't know how that's even supposed to.
And then on your own time, be human, but don't really be a human, because there's
Right.
all these people that we say that you can't hang out with, which again, I didn't listen to, because the majority of my friends are convicted felons. And in fact, the majority of my friends are people that I put in prison. So
It's a nice way. It's a good icebreaker.
yeah, oddly enough,
jail.
yeah, most the
We'll hang
ones
out on Friday.
they
We'll
reached
get
out. That's kind of what happened. I mean, there's a lot of people that I'm friends with that I put in the people zoo.
I wonder how
And they
common
learn.
that is across the country. I mean,
I don't know.
900,000 police officers or so, give or take, whatever, 50,000. I wonder how often that happens. I wonder, because it does seem like there's a huge separation between the force and the public, and it's meant to be that way. And it doesn't seem like the public likes that. And it doesn't seem like police officers necessarily like that. Although, as we were just discussing, the public is kind of, maybe this is why, has a hard time handling police, I guess, in their position. Does that make
Right,
sense?
and we don't always intend to be cunty about it, but most of the time
But you
we
guys
are
don't
just
mingle
super busy.
very much, like what you did with
Right.
being friends with us and stuff, and outside of the police force.
Well, it's only
was
because
kinda unique.
because the way that it's set up, we're not really. They would always preach, don't just hang out with cops, but when you start looking into who you can hang out with, guess who you can hang out with? Pretty much just cops, and that's it.
And people that are at the library.
Right? Yeah. And unless you're involved in a church, which I didn't happen to be.
Right.
So,
I think that is kind of like where they're pushing, like, just go to church.
Yeah.
You find friends at church.
yeah.
There's a lot of that in our area, that's
Yeah.
for sure. A specific church, even. But I don't know
Yeah,
I
if
can
you
go
by
that far.
chance happen to be friends with somebody that actually ended up getting in trouble for something, prior to them getting in trouble, like that can come back on me. As crazy as that is.
Yeah.
So it
is
doesn't make
crazy.
any sense. So it makes us very leery of wanting to be with the public. So I took huge chances.
You did,
I mean,
yeah.
I really did. And I did it intentionally
Right.
because
But
I'm just that guy.
It seemed valuable to all the people around, though. Like in our circle, I mean, you did make yourself open to questions from people in a very nice way, in a way that I don't think we're certainly not talking about now.
I definitely wanted to humanize the badge, so to speak. I mean, and that's a whole project in itself, done by somebody else who's super popular on the Netflix, or not Netflix, on the network in general,
Yeah.
social media. But that really was kind of what I was trying to do. Was just I wanted to be a regular person so bad, and nobody would really let me. So but I just kind of decided at some point, it's like, okay, I'm just going to go do the things that I like to do, and whatever happens with that happens with it. I think I have a solid enough platform just from being who I am that I can argue anything that comes my way with the department.
Right.
And I was willing to take that risk.
Yeah.
And there was a time where I had to argue it.
I'm sure.
So
Yeah, there's a lot of-
and we'll tell that story some other day.
Yeah, okay.
And you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, any other things for this here topic? Do we know how to approach a police officer now?
You probably just don't.
Right. But what if
Just
we
be nice.
what if we want to, and
Just
we're
be
just like, damn it, you're awesome, and I want to give you a gift. What's the best gift? And the best way to
you
give them a
can't-
gift.
You can't give them a gift. just don't do it.
Here's a gun.
Yeah.
I found this gun.
Don't
and I
do
want
it
you to have
as
it.
much as you want to, and as nice as it is, it actually can put them in a situation where if they accept it, it can get them in trouble. So just say, hey, how you doing? I hope you have a good day.
Okay,
I
what if
appreciate
you
what
find
do.
a big stash of drugs? It's not your drugs. It's really legit not your drugs, and you're like, officer, here's a bunch of drugs. Should you do that, or should you just not have anything to do?
Well, that would be generating a call, and that falls
Okay.
into the
All right.
call generating.
Well, what if you don't want a big deal? You're like, dude, I don't want a big deal. Just here's a bunch of drugs.
Do all the drugs.
All right, that's Shaiden has the
Cut
right
out the
answer.
middleman.
All right, for fuck's
So,
sake.
You guys want to hear this car story real quick?
Yes.
Since we teased it, I don't want to leave everybody hanging. It
I
wasn't.
wanna
It
hear
wasn't a huge deal, but it was. It made my walk for the day for my 75 hard shit more exciting, I guess. But so I've figured out this circuit that runs me about 45 to 50 minutes, depending on the pace around the area where I live, and I have to go across a busy street 2 times, once across, once back. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm waiting at this crosswalk, and this creature, I'm going to say that just because they were a little bit scary, and I couldn't really determine. I couldn't even field a guess as to what gender they were.
Okay.
Honestly, it was just this amalgamation of some human parts in a car full of trash. I just want to paint the picture.
Okay, right.
And they rolled up and stopped at the red light, like in the crosswalk, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, whatever, like I'll just walk around. Like I'm not gonna get all torqued about it. Like it's just like, okay, it's another person not paying attention. So they stopped. There's two young guys jogging towards me in the crosswalk going the other way, and I'm walking towards them, and we kind of meet this car at this roughly the same time. They jogged in front of it, I'm walking behind it. This person sees these joggers as they're in front of their car and thinks it'll be a good idea to throw it in reverse and just pin it to try and get out of their way real quick. And they did that right as I was standing behind their car. And I didn't even see it coming. Like, it just fucking...
They were discombobulated.
Checked me right in the hip, lifted me up off my feet, and like onto their trunk. And I was like, oh, you know, this fucking, and then they just stopped, and I like hauled my ass off of their car, and in the heat of the moment, I punched their quarter panel twice, like really hard. So now I have a fucking fist-sized dent in their quarter panel to remember me by. But
So
I figured it was fair, like turnabout's
good.
fair play. Like they just hit me with their car, right? So I was like,
Right.
I must retaliate. So then I kind of walked up and gave them like the what the fuck hands, and they wouldn't even look at me. They were just like glued to the steering wheel. And
This guy just punched my car.
And the crosswalk's running down, you know. So I was like, well, I'm not gonna fucking start a.
You're grabbing your ninja sword.
Yeah,
You're like,
I'm not seriously injured, and I got my revenge, I guess. So I'm just gonna fucking let it go. But yeah, it was just like startling, like because I had my hood up and everything, 'cause it was cold, so I didn't even see it coming. Like I just saw these guys jogging, and then I'm just walking, and all of a sudden, off my feet onto their trunk. I was like, what the fuck?
Yikes. That happened to me at a Winco, where I was just walking back to my car, and somebody backed up fast right into me, and I was just like, and I don't know how, but I pushed up off the thing and I was up in the air, so I didn't hurt, but it was just like, what the fuck? And they're like, what? And I'm like, you hit? Did you feel your car do the motion that it did? That's not obviously what you were going for, was it? Fucking guy. Well, I'm glad you weren't,
Yeah.
run over.
I mean, I was very limber. I've been doing a lot of yoga. So.
You molded around the shape of the vehicle.
Yeah, I became water.
Awesome. Well, that officially will end the segment of the police stories, even though that wasn't a police story. Police stories.
It should have ended in assault. I'm gonna say.
Well, and there was a cop nearby, like I said. I saw him.
Yeah, and he's like
4 cars back, but didn't see it
He
happen.
didn't see it.
Obviously, so
He probably wouldn't
Didn't
care
give a
anyway.
shit.
yeah,
So,
maybe not.
Like, you okay?
He was probably
Fine.
just like,
It's like, I still see all your limbs working. You're fine.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing about the police is everybody thinks that the job is to go out and manufacture crimes. No, we don't give a fuck what's going on.
Right. The more we talk about it with you, it's like, oh no shit, you wouldn't care.
Yeah, we don't.
You're just a guy,
Yeah, we
and
don't
you're
give
like,
a fuck.
I can't wait to go. You're not Batman.
Just
you're
ask
not like
yourself.
I gotta find me some Joker problems.
I mean,
just
like,
ask yourself, would you care?
yeah, I'm looking for looking for criminals is one thing. Manufacturing crimes is not what we do.
Right.
Because there's not enough already.
Right.
Without you manufacturing.
Right. It's like having a drop gun or drop dope. We don't need that. There's enough out there. We don't need to fucking manufacture shit.
Right. And then Washington.
And I don't want to do the
wouldn't matter
fucking
anyway.
paperwork. Why the fuck would I want to do the paperwork on all that? That just sounds like
See, that's a cliche that's true as fuck. Where it's like,
Ton of fucking
no
paperwork.
police officers want to do. There's like one guy that's like, this is the best paperwork. This shit's so cool. It's like going to school again, baby.
When you fight somebody, you're supposed to
color code.
It's kind of his favorite pen. It's like, this one's for the purple form.
Is
man.
it really paperwork though, or do you do it on the computer?
Well, when I started, it was paperwork.
Right.
It was write everything in pencil.
Yeah.
I'm
can
serious
do-
about
Oh,
it.
That was
pencil?
like in the 1940s, right?
Yeah.
Right. That's when the dinosaurs were just kicking off.
Yeah.
Sorry, you guys make fun of me for being the
But
young
still,
one.
I
I
don't
don't make
shots
fun
in.
of you for
I gotta
being
get my
young
shots
at
in
all.
once in
You
a while.
don't seem young to me at all.
Everything
You're like,
was
hey.
so redundant, though. I mean, there was a lot of, I'd have to write this report, but I'd have to write another report for the same thing for this other thing. It was a fucking pain in the ass. Yeah, and I hated it. And you couldn't just copy and paste because it was all different formats, and it's like, this is so stupid. And again, it's just government, not
Yeah, it is.
not communicating well.
Yeah, it's not. Is this the best way to do it? Absolutely not.
Probably not.
Would a company do it that way? No. Would just a group of people that are trying to maximize the widgets working? No, absolutely
probably
fucking
not.
not.
Company might.
I would agree.
A company might. You're right. You're right. Depends on the.
From a functionality
You work at Best
standpoint,
Buy, don't play me.
You're right. There's a lot of waste in companies.
from a functionality standpoint, there's a lot of wasted fucking time and effort on paperwork that generally just goes in the fucking round file.
Yeah.
So.
Terrible. Garbage can. Yeah.
We should ask Best Buy if they want to sponsor the podcast.
We bring them up all the time. Like, you were this weird spot in both of our lives.
We're giving you free
good or
advertising.
bad?
It's not necessarily casting you in a positive light, but you're getting airtime.
Somebody's got to have bought a TV at some point and be like, oh, yeah, Best Buy still exists.
No such thing as bad press.
That's
Just
right.
saying.
By the way, I brought up you being never seeming young. You look young and you seem young, but you seem like
I don't
the
look that
40-year-old 10 guy. I mean, you liked Pokemon and you liked the things that you're supposed to like as a kid.
Sure.
But he was like a 40-year-old man being like, fucking, you get these Pokemon so you can fucking trade them in the future for money and fucking ROI. You want to get them.
I'm building a pyramid scheme with Pikachu.
At 10 years old, he's like, all right. Now let us switch gears to this AI art thing. We've brought it up in the past, but we kind of wanted a topic
It's
called...
very relevant.
Yeah, losing humanity is what I wrote down. Are we? And we have friends that I have. Shaiden and I, and you, actually all three of us have pretty much the same friend group here in this town as far as artists and stuff, but with differences and whatnot. But we have artists around the country and stuff that we know, and they all seem to be talking about what's going on with the AI and replacing or working alongside with, robots making art, songs.
So you're right. I do have several artist friends that are very talented, that are super wound up about it in one way or another, whether it's like being incredibly resistant to it or trying to push back against it or compete with it in some way or just crusading for it'll never be the same as art made by people, and
they already don't get paid shit.
yeah and I kind of feel for them, and they're like, how would you, like, they've said to me, how would you feel if an AI came out where people could just ask it to write brilliant songs and it would? And I was like, that exists already.
Napster already happened, so the money's already out of the music in general.
Yeah, we don't make it anymore.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I feel that I have some degree of authority to speak on it in that sense, because there is already AI that's generating music. Like, you can just say play gent music, or like there's a station on YouTube that's completely like a 24-hour live stream of just like AI generating different genres of music.
Can I ask something retarded
some of
on
it
that?
Sucks really bad.
Good.
But some of it's like, that sounds like gent. Like, damn.
Does it have vocals too?
I don't know about that.
Okay.
I'm not
somebody,
sure about that.
I can't remember if it was Nick Cave or if it was one of those kind of croony. I can't remember. I'm not a fan of this style, but somebody said, "Hey, write a song in this guy's style," and it must have been vocals too. And he was like, "It sucks. I hate it.
Yeah.
This is a problem.
So
this is terrible."
I have a question. So this AI station, is this literally just being generated as it's playing, or is it stuff that people have put together and?
Oh yeah, good question.
And it stores it.
Is it pre-recorded and then they throw it up? Or?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure about that. It's a live. I only glanced at it just in passing. Somebody sent it to me, and I was like, "Hey, look, AI music," But
I'm curious to see what they do with vocals, because then it's over.
I feel that they couldn't really. I mean, I guess they could like be like, "This was a song generated." Like, it's a 24-hour stream. Who's sitting there putting together 24/7 ahead of time? You know what I mean?
That's why I'm asking.
I
assume it's just doing it on its own.
It's got to be being generated. Yeah.
I'd kind of like to listen to it just to see what it does.
Yeah.
So much.
I'm interested.
I'll show you guys, and all you guys
be nice
listening,
to the robots. By the way, this is the time to be nice to the toaster and be
Where
like,
I'm
"That's
going,
a good
there
little
are no
toaster."
robots.
I don't care if you're broken. It's okay. You're not broken. Yeah, I know.
The robots
They'll
will
find you though.
They're
yeah.
in space.
Dude, they literally put those up just to find you. That's why.
Touchette.
That's the
my
whole
friend.
point of Elon Musk's existence, is to find you guys that are out in the woods later with his satellites. When we went out in the woods and we recorded that record out in our cabin, or in Jake's cabin.
Starlink was like, "They saw us scatter."
Yeah, I mean, it was like, that's when you could see him.
I think Elon's smart enough to know that he wants the rednecks on his side.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So here's my thoughts on the AI art situation. I feel that I'm not nearly as concerned by it as a lot of people seem to be. I find it fascinating, but I mean, if you look throughout history, there's a period of time where technology takes a leap forward in some area, and there's a period of time where people look at it and they're incredibly resistant to it, and they make all these grandiose claims about this is going to change the face of human existence, and almost without exception, all of those technologies have just been integrated and then subsequently taken for granted, and it didn't really, like, I mean, it changes things, but it wasn't the huge detrimental thing that people said it was, you know, like
the Large Hadron Collider.
The internet would be a very prime example.
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean?
Although
or
there's some
before that,
arguments.
the telephone, like you don't have to wait to communicate with somebody across the world or even across the town. You can just communicate with them instantaneously. That did change human existence, like, a lot. But there were a bunch of people that were like, this is going to fuck up everything.
Right.
And lo and behold, it didn't.
Right.
You know, so
They're going to put out the post office.
It's arguable.
You're right. That is the thing. Like, we don't know. Like, the way the world we're living in now, is it the way it's supposed to be? It's probably not. Who
Certainly
knows?
changed the
Is that
dating
even
game.
possible?
yeah.
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 It changed everything. It did.
Yeah, and I'm not
Is that good or bad?
I'm
I
not
don't
sitting
know.
here saying it didn't create great changes. I'm just saying that it wasn't world-ending stuff. Like So
Exactly.
let me put it another way. There are still flourishing companies to this day that are multi-million-dollar companies that are manufacturing pipe organs by hand.
Right. Just like they did 5 centuries ago,
You know,
or 4 centuries ago.
and there was a time where you had, when electricity came into the game, it changed everything. And they instead of having mechanical key presses, they started having like electric key presses, to where you, like, you know, in organs.
Yeah.
I just learned a lot about organs recently, sorry, but it's a pertinent example. And there was huge pushback against that. You know, you're taking the soul out of the instrument. You're removing some of the medium between the player and the instrument. And then, like tends to happen with things that are romanticized, like art, there's always going to be a market for people who want the authentic thing.
Yep.
There just always
nobody's
will be.
going to forget who Van Gogh is because there's AI art.
Right. Like
No.
what happened
right.
when people started creating art with computer assistance? Like, I'm sure there's purists out there that are like,
fuck.
if you're using computer software to finish your art or publish your art, then you're not a real artist.
I can
and
almost
you're
see-
polluting the art form. It's like, I don't know. Are you? Or are you just embracing new tools? Like,
know,
it
it's
depends.
just
It
a
just
new
depends.
brush
And there will be a
style.
market for both.
Yeah.
There will continue to be.
It could actually go the other way, where again the purists of people who true art done by a person is so valuable to them that it might actually take true art from a human being and jack the price way up because it's not computer generated.
Right.
It actually would give it more value.
Almost certainly in some circles that will be what happens, for sure.
Yeah, so
It
that-
probably
that-
already
that's a-
is.
that's
to
a net
certain
positive,
extent,
right?
You know?
Absolutely, yeah.
There's also artists that are making money that, sorry to call you out there, but there are artists right now that are making gobs more money than they were before doing their art by taking AI generated art and then putting their own spin on it, like actually
altering
finishing it like, you know,
Oh, yeah.
like an art piece. And it's like, great, so you're welcome.
Right?
Like,
No shit.
you just got a new tool for peddling your art and growing your business. Like,
And art is art.
Is it really
Art's
so
supposed to
bad?
make you feel something, right?
What
so
about,
if it
like-
makes you feel something, it's still art.
yeah.
So what about graphic design? I've got a guy that I went to high school with. His business is graphic design, and he does labels to his own pictures and stuff like that. It's all done on computer himself, but it's really good art that he does. I mean, he still gets the money for the value of that. I'm sure that a computer it's probably just going to make his job easier, and ultimately save him time. So I could see where that would be a win for his style of business.
Yeah.
Until people start cutting out the middleman when they just get this AI and they say, all right, make me a
Fair
logo
enough.
for my company.
Right,
And,
right.
you know, they pay a monthly fee for it.
Incidentally,
Yeah, and that's the thing.
you were going
Go
to
ahead.
plug in what you wrote, the analog
yeah,
for
I was.
Just
Way to call me
Arrived.
out. I didn't do it.
What?
I was going to put into Chat GPT to write a description for Jar, and I totally forgot
that's
about
right.
it.
Unintentionally just called you out
Yep.
to the public.
Nice.
Lo
Well
siento,
done.
my
Way
friend.
to check with me, brah.
Well, he'll get to it, I guess.
No, I will. I'll do it. I'll throw it.
no
on,
pressure.
I'll throw it on Discord this week.
Are you
so
still-
if
you
you're
still
not-
have it,
If
right?
you're not
You're-
on our Discord, you can go and fucking find it there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please.
But I think you make a good point, Zach, that those people, like people in the commission space, they're the ones that are getting the most adversely affected by it right now. And I don't know if that'll continue to be the case or not. Like, it kind of makes sense that it might, because like you say, like I could pay somebody, you know, $500 to design a set of logos for my business, or I could spend $10 a month and have as many different variations of logos made for me on the spot as I want.
Who wouldn't choose that, you know?
But
I mean,
but
especially
I think
if you can Photoshop a little bit later and you're like, okay, I'll change that, and that's
right.
perfect.
But the thing is, and like I get that, that's a valid frustration, but my stance on all that shit is the technology is always going to continue to evolve, and what separates the successful from the unsuccessful are the people that are willing to adapt and pivot and move forward with it, you know. So it's like, yeah, when the printing press came out, people that were reproducing books and you know, pieces of literature before that,
they got some
their career field went away.
Yeah, exactly. We do hand by hand, but
you
they
know
didn't,
what I mean?
though,
And
because it still became valuable.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just like you have to find a way to adapt, go with the flow of the way that things are going, because like the genie's already out of the bottle. There's no putting it back. You can whinge all you want about, I'm not going to get as many commissions because you could just have Midjourney do it, and that's probably true.
Yeah.
But you sitting there lamenting it is not going to change the fact that the Pandora's box has been opened. So your time would be better served looking at it and going, okay, let's apply some imagination to this and see how I can move with it instead of trying to fight the current on it. Right. Because it's not going to go away.
No. No, there was a sentiment like in a meme. You're supposed to use, the idea is for humans to use AI to do the hard jobs that free us up to do art. And then just because we can,
the first good AI we make would be to do art.
Is to do the art, do the thing. It's like write a beautiful poem that's better than anything I can ever do. It's like, sure, loser. It's like, oh fuck, and you're like, write a song in the key in the way that I would like to write a song with these things that I like. And then it does it, and you're like, I would have never been able to do that. Not in 10 years. It would take me 10. You know. So
I do want to take some of my lyrics, and I think David was trying to explain this to me, but he doesn't understand. I'm a super computer idiot. But I want to like take my lyrics and try to generate a song with the music that it could come up with.
Oh yeah.
And try couple different genres of music. I just don't really understand where to go or how to do even that.
That's pretty cool. I imagine a person that's writing poetry or songs in the sense where it's just no musical training or anything, going to these things and then writing songs and then having them with vocals somehow or whatever. And then I wonder what the first hit, or if we've already had it that's been that way. Like, what's the first hit song that the AI writes the majority of, or that collaborates with the human or whatever? And then Shaiden just hurt himself in podcasting, a podcasting injury.
I hurt myself setting something on the table.
We have no L and I.
Yeah,
so you're aware.
You got our plans here.
It's patreon.com/SKATCAST.
We appreciate all of you guys.
Donate.
I don't want to seem ungrateful, but I just if you guys would have done it before I got my appendix out, we
didn't have it then. We didn't really have it then. I don't know. So are we losing our humanity in this? Or is this, like you're saying, I think it's something we'll adapt to.
Yeah.
People are not going to stop doing art.
The answer is yes, but it's not going anywhere.
Right. It's just a new thing that we have to live with, like with the internet.
Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, I think we only lose our humanity as much as we allow it. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I think it's a narrow-minded stance to take.
I was just making a hyperbolic title.
I'm not attacking you. I just in general think it's a narrow-minded stance to take, to just look at all progression in technology as something that's taking away from our inherent humanity. It's because it only goes away as much as we allow it. Like me being a computer nerd hasn't dampened my human experience personally. I mean, in a grand sense, there's been times where I'm like, ooh, I got to adjust the way I interact with this because it's detrimental to me.
Sure.
But that falls upon the individual, in my opinion. Like, I'm a big fan of personal agency, so.
And we all talk about it too. So we're like, maybe that's not good for you, Shaiden. And you're like, yeah, I agree.
I know. Yeah. Everybody's talking about it. Maybe I do have a problem. No, I'm just
Shaiden. The whole world's talking about what Shaiden's doing.
I think that there's some onus to be placed on the individual in that equation, and
Well, you can say that about anything in life.
Oh,
right?
I agree. Yeah. I guess that's exactly my point. This isn't any different. The progression of technology, it just comes down to how we choose to integrate it in our personal lives, and that will extrapolate to whether or not it's robbing us of our collective humanity.
It's like a popular thing to do, just like we've illustrated over the last couple of weeks, where it's like, the printing press destroys oral tradition or the writing down on paper, hand drawn things, but then it didn't, and
Right.
And it's like just what we do. We want to shout about the new thing. It's kind of like clickbait, but before clickbait, where it's like, listen to me, the end of the world is coming because of the toilet paper. The toilet paper is going to make it so all the leaves that we pick won't be collected anymore for butt wipe. Like, what?
It still comes down to anything that we get our hands on, we tend to abuse.
Yeah.
And anything that's new that can be potentially good does create a new set of problems. I mean, that's just a fact.
But just like how electricity was scary, now we literally, every room we walk into, we assume it's there. And I think the internet and AI will just be a thing where we walk into a room and the internet's just there. We're able to interact with a wall because we know the wall. This, of course, is a touchscreen wall, and it's going to tell me where I have to go and my stupid time, and I'll sign in or whatever.
Well, so here's an interesting way to think about AI, because this is how I look at AI, and I feel like people look at it as this mystical sort of magic lamp that you rub and you get cool results that pop out of it. And I understand how it feels that way, but the way I look at AI in general, especially in the application it's been put towards lately, is AI is a child of the internet, and it is a utility for interacting with elements of the internet more efficiently in a way that we can parse better as human beings, right? So
That's a good way to put it.
So if you think that, so imagine everybody has their own personal AI assistant that's tailored to them and has figured out how best to interact with them, and you could just be going through your day and you could say, hey, AI, will you explain the circle of fifths to me? I'm trying to wrap my head around it. Help me understand it. And it goes, sure, Shaiden, blah, 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 blah.
Use
Try
the
thinking
squirrel
about
analogy.
it like this, and here's where I got this information from. And it's just an aggregate of shit that it's not that the AI just dreamed it up.
Right.
It's pulling from somewhere.
It's a bunch of algorithms kind of thing.
It's basically a more efficient way to interact with the vast repository of human knowledge. Because if I wanted to do that otherwise, I'd have to be like, okay, I got to drop what I'm doing. I got to go look up explanation of the circle of fifths, and then maybe read through it. And I can't figure out the way that person explained it just because their communication style. So now I got to go find a video. Then I got to watch another video to make sure that I'm cross-referencing, getting the right information. It's like, whereas if you had an AI that was just like, I already did all that for you, like that, and I know how to communicate with you. So I'm going to explain it to you. Here you go.
What's the future, though? It's going to be asking it and be like, tell me as Big Bird. Tell me as George Carlin,
Sure.
the circle of fifths, and show me how to do it. And
Yeah.
That's what is the future of AI. So we're talking about, oh my God, they're writing songs, they're making art, they're taking what 20 years, 30 years from now. What's this? Can you even imagine what the hell they're going to do from this?
I'm just curious what's going to happen with my cell phone, because anytime I ask that bitch a question, it's like impossible to get the right answer.
Well,
nice
That's
to
funny
Siri.
that you asked that, because like Siri and Google Assistant are very much they're the beta versions of what AI is becoming. And it's thanks in large part to them that these AI are able to draw upon such a wealth of information, because it's all built upon that original framework.
This is literally the only woman I argue with, is the one that's in my phone.
You can change it to an English man if you'd like. No shit.
I'm your friend, motherfucker.
Even in this house, I think that's wrong. All right. Well, so what do we think? I mean, obviously, losing humanity is hyperbolic. We're going to be humanity no matter what happens to us, probably, until we maybe accept AI into our brains. What if we take a chip?
I'm going to the woods.
There's going to be...
Jeff can't have this conversation because he's out of the woods.
There's going to be collateral
us all.
damage, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sitting here preaching the gospel of AI that it's just going to be this great, benevolent...
You're just not running out to the fucking woods.
But I'm not like...
And
I'm
you're
not
not jumping
I'm not
up and down
afraid
for
of
it
it either. Not really. I mean, it does have potential for a ton of fucking damage, for sure. But so does everything, technologies that already exist and technologies that are being developed. Like I don't want to live in fear of,
I appreciate the toy aspect of it, like some of the things we've talked about, with being able to play around with art and music and stuff like that. But I can see a whole other world where, again, because we're humans and we're just really monkeys and we abuse everything, I could see it being very potentially dangerous. For sure.
For sure. Look at the way, you have to look no further than social media to see how poorly we handle new technology.
You mix the dark the dark web technology of the masking people's voices or creating sentences for people to say, and then
talking about like deep fakes.
Dark web. I'm like, I don't know internet. The deep fakes are fucking. You mix that with AI, it's like, write the perfect script to trick the most amount of people into doing something stupid that you want them to do. And it's like, all right, here's this one. And then it's like, Robin Williams' ghost coming back saying exactly the right things. And you're like, oh yeah, Robin Williams said that one night. Yeah. And I don't know. So I don't know why I pulled that out of my ass.
Put it into
analogy. Put
it into this context though, because it's a valid concern, but I'm going to sit here and say with a fair degree of certainty that shit has already been happening behind closed doors for like a minute now.
Wag the dog shit.
Because by the time, it's true with any technology, by the time it trickles down to the consumer level, it's already been in development and application for 20, 30 years behind closed doors, So like the AI that we're dealing with is just the toys that we're ready for.
It's like the jets
that they think that we're ready for.
It's like the military jets that we know about. We're like, oh wow, an F-89, and they're like, yeah, we got an F-99.
And part of me is always offended by that, but another part of me is like, yeah, but look how shitty we deal with the toys that we have right now. Like maybe they're not wrong that everybody in general isn't ready to have the whole fucking unfiltered thing yet.
Right. Well, they themselves
chaps my ass to think that might be true, but it might be.
Right. Well, the government themselves, they probably are sitting in a group of laboratory folk are sitting around going, wow, we fuck shit up bad. Like the people that are being as scrupulous as possible. So they're like, okay, humans are capable. But real quick, we're at a point now where AI, they've made it an AI or AI has come about that can identify things that have been created by AI, which will be a valuable tool. And so that speaks to your point where it's like, they've known about this for a long time. They're already 3 steps ahead of the game because of national security and other things. But that's crazy. So then it was basically for like documents that were written by AI. It identifies somehow. Yeah. Imagine you're a great writer and you just so happen to write something, and then the teacher says the AI says that you're that you used AI, and you're like, I didn't.
Right.
AI, fuck you. Help. I don't know.
So I think there's a distinction that should be made, and this is just me as a layman who reads a lot, but I think it's fair for me to say that what we have right now that we're calling AI isn't truly artificial intelligence.
Right.
It's
just
more
algorithm.
It's more of a VI or a virtual intelligence.
It's drawing from something that's already been created.
Right, because it's only creating things that are new in the sense that it's blending things that already exist. But if
isn't that what we do though with our little brains?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, but its sources is us. It's the things that we've made out of our little brains, So
True.
It's just like it's one step further down the line. In order to actually be artificial intelligence, to my mind, it would have to be able to do that with the same capacity that we do. You know, like be able to create truly inspired newness out of things that aren't necessarily correlated in the first place.
I don't know. We keep pushing it. We'll see. It might blow humans out of the water.
Like I say, that could already exist, just not in the public sphere yet, and it wouldn't surprise me if it does, But
that's what's running all our weird policies. It's like, why is this happening? Shut up. The computer's doing it. It knows better. It's a long-term thing. You're thinking short-term.
This is still the beta test. Calm down. There's bugs.
We're working on it. We're getting there.
So, off of AI...
COVID was a shitty DLC. That's all I'm saying.
That was the worst one so far.
Off of AI, but still on computer shit. Like, I remember everybody being up in arms about G5, and I never even understood what the fuck G5 actually was, but I can remember one of the things was
5G, Jeff.
See, there you go.
I got your back, bro.
All right, that tells you how.
But we get where you're going with it. It's still the same.
Yeah. All right.
Concept.
You know why? It's too
you can tell that Jeff's
too much 5G exposure. That's why you can't keep it straight.
I'll be stupid, because I am when it comes to that stuff. Nevertheless, I can remember one of the biggest things that people were freaking out about was the facial recognition within public and and from cameras and all that. They know who you are.
Yeah, like that's new.
But the reality is, so the department that I work for, we had a program that they didn't pilot it. We had it for a certain while for free, and then they chose not to pay for it because it was expensive and we lost it. But I had an app on my cell phone where if I thought somebody was lying to me and they had ever been booked into our jail, into our system before, I could hold that up and get their face in the frame, and it would tell me who they were if they were ever into our system. So that was already happening before. What is it, 5G?
We've had facial recognition for a long
Right.
time.
5G is really more about...
Is it a thing? Is it here? I still
like,
don't know what it is.
I don't understand it super well, but it's kind of like bits, like from 8-bit to 16-bit to 32, and then it just blows up. 5G is like computer graphics compared to 8-bit kind of thing, I think, from what I understand. But it's bandwidth, right?
5G is the latest deployed generation of cellular networks. So it's data sent over communication towers. And 5G, the deal with 5G is it's, as I understand it, it's a much better rate of data transfer, so it's a lot higher communication speeds, especially for data, but its range is smaller than 4G long-term evolution, which is LTE.
So you're saying that satellite phones in general being in everybody's pocket is still a little ways out?
I mean...
They've got towers and satellites kind of making it so I mean, it's there, really.
Yeah, I mean, they're getting closer. I think...
I mean, you can get a satellite phone.
Right.
Yeah. So what I was getting to is that 5G, a lot of people's concerns with 5G was the concentration of the air quotes radiation that people were receiving.
Because it was 5 gamma. It means something like as far as wavelengths, because it's traveling over wavelengths. Isn't that
gamma rays or something?
Yeah, I would
like
think
that.
so.
Well, 5G literally just stands for fifth generation.
Okay, so I don't know shit.
The only reason I know this shit is because I used to run a cell phone store, so I have a lens into how networks work. But.
Okay, I'm wondering, like, as far as wavelengths go, you'll find TV and radio wavelengths are all around us, and they sit on a certain frequency. From my understanding of reading about it, very, very, very little, obviously, 5G sits in the reason it's able to transfer is because it sits in a similar frequency as to where it was before, but it's like you said, it's able to transfer more. And I don't know what the technology is. I just remember it being, like I said, it's a jump from 16-bit graphic console to the full-on computer as far as what we're capable of. Like 5G makes it so a lot of these sci-fi concepts that we've thought about, because of its ability to carry so much information, like you said, makes it so these sci-fi things where we can have fucking touchscreen walls in every fucking shopping, makes it so it's like it will be able to...
Makes it hard for me to order a sandwich at McDonald's.
I think
that's
why I don't go there.
I think that is kind of...
I'm making shit up, I guess.
No, I think you're right.
I read one Wired magazine article.
I said,
I'm a
you're right,
expert.
motherfucker. Calm down.
I was calling myself an expert. I did a 180 in that whole cover. In one sentence, I 180, bro.
That was so... They're trying to create, which of course they would as cell phone companies who make a profit off of the quality and viability of their networks. They're trying to create this blanket of interconnectedness that handles as much data as possible and covers as much as possible. And 5G is the latest generation of that attempt.
And there'll be more.
But the reason, or one of the main reasons that people were getting so wound up about it, is because it takes a lot more 5G towers to achieve the same coverage as LTE.
Because the data can't go as far as you mentioned.
It's just, and I don't know that, I'm not an engineer, but I just know that the radius from 5G towers is significantly smaller. So there's a lot more of them, but they're also a lot less obtrusive. There's a ton of them around Spokane, and I bet you haven't noticed one.
Okay,
you know what I mean? Like they stick them on top of like light poles and shit. I think so. It's
in Vegas they look like palm trees.
People were concerned.
That was 4G.
People were concerned that having that many different little towers was radiating you to a higher degree, because you're like, I'm getting hit by a whole bunch more, and it's like, well, if the data's traveling, the number of relay points doesn't really affect how much, of a gigahertz frequency you're getting hit with.
Right.
As I understand it. So I always thought that was kind of a silly concern. But on the flip side of that coin, I'm not convinced that the amount of radio frequencies that we're getting hit with in general for our entire lives now is necessarily a healthy thing either.
No
like
shit.
That's like we were talking about getting out into the woods and actually being able to hear the frequency of the earth.
Sure.
Yeah. It messes
and
with our cells.
how much
I
it
know that.
kind of brings you back into alignment. It wouldn't be that way if we weren't constantly being hit by, anywhere from 0 to 11,000 gigahertz of radio waves.
With knowing nothing, it
bio-
at least sounds reasonable that there would be some validity to that.
Yeah.
The last I looked at biochemistry research, I mean, they legit look at electromagnetic stuff, for lack of a better term, as a problem with your cells, like a big problem. Last thing on 5G, what's the connection between that and the Jewish space lasers? Is it capable?
They're funding it, obviously.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, we're fucked. No. Anything else on losing humanity and the AI art?
Do it.
I think
Fuck
we're
humanity.
fine. Yeah, I think we're
Humanity's
fine.
overrated.
Okay.
I hate it. Sorry, just have to slip one of those in.
He has to get all
gotta get it
misanthropic.
out.
Yeah, I feel like you're actually like many misanthropes. I think George Collins said it. Behind every cynic is a disappointed optimist. Where they're like,
Yeah.
I had such high hopes for you humans, and then I kept giving you chances, and you kept kicking me in the dick.
I can approve that message.
When
feel
I heard
that way.
George Carlin say that, I was still a young man, but I was like, yep,
Yeah.
I could see that all around me, and that's
When I was a little kid, I looked at the whole world as something I would be able to one day step
Wield
into
and
adulthood
help
and
and
just,
be embraced by.
use it and it would be mine.
Yep.
And then I grew up and I was like, what the fuck?
The world holds your legs open as it stomps on your dick over and over
And
again.
nobody's driving. Nobody knows what's going on.
Who's doing this to my dick? It's, some people are like, someone who loves you. Oh,
Are
damn
you
it.
sure?
What does love mean? All right. That's a good little segue into Ask Why More. That's our next segment. Is in the way, Jeff is going to lead us down this road of asking why more. But thinking of like a kid and how they ask why, that immediately made me think of a quote by I don't remember who, but basically that we're all scientists until we're taught not to be. As children, like we're very curious and we look into everything. Why does this work, mommy? Why? We're always curious and want to care.
Why is the sky blue? Why is
Until you get into public school generally, or even private school, and they're like, shut the fuck up.
I know.
Here's
the sky
what.
is blue. The sky is
What?
blue because we live inside of the eye of a blue-eyed giant named Macumber.
And there's a turtle back somewhere involved. All right.
You need to do more mushrooms, Jeff.
I would agree with that.
Now you have a chance. Ask why more, Jeff.
Yeah, and you kind of touched on it. When we're children, it's why. Being around children now, it's the why a lot. And I try to be very cautious of cutting them off from asking why, and I do try to answer the question, which generally generates another why. And we can go down a rabbit hole pretty quick with a 3-year-old,
You end up being a science teacher
But-
or a history
yeah.
teacher or a fucking,
But and out of annoyance, adults in general will shut kids off to where we just kind of learn to not ask why anymore. We really have a society that says, don't ask why, just do as I say, do as I do, just listen to what I tell you.
So many of us
and
want
go
to do
with
what
that.
we're told.
Why, Jeff?
Why is that, Jeff?
I wish I had the answer. And sometimes that is the answer. Is it's okay to have the answer of I don't know. I don't
like asking why anymore. I didn't learn anything just now.
But even then,
Fruitless. Fruitless.
but like one of the things that I see happening as adults, we stop asking why, and we are okay with seeing the conclusion of something without understanding how we got there. One of the biggest examples is seeing a lot of these police videos on the internet.
That must have frustrated you a lot.
Super
Because there's just
frustrating.
little snippets and then people run with it as if they're experts,
Right.
and all these situational things.
especially when it's just one of the best. What's that?
Copsperts.
Cop spurts.
That's from a past episode, if I recall correctly.
Full circle.
I just lost my train of thot.
Son of a biscuit.
I have that effect on a lot of people. Sorry.
Well, at least it's not in public. Oh, shit.
Sorry.
I do that all the time.
Anyway, what was I talking about? Oh, yeah. So
The police stories and how they get
police
lost.
videos is a really good example of just showing the snippet of an end conclusion of something, and then people just developing or being okay with what they saw, never asking, well, how did we get to where this video started? How did we get here? And then how did, of course you see the little area where it ended, but what led all the way up to this?
Right.
We should be asking why all the time, whether it be to our government or things that we see or just anything in our life.
Or your boss, just ask him why all the time.
Yeah, it's just really annoying.
Why?
So it seems to be people.
You can't have a race. Why?
People have gotten lazy to the point where they don't really care how the end result got there. They're just, but I think we're taught to not ask, how do we get here?
We also kind of live.
For sure.
We also kind of live, at least in the Western world, we live in a society where it's exhausting. You know what I mean? Like trying to always suss out where shit's coming from.
Yeah.
Because we're just things are so engineered on purpose to be so complicated that asking why is just so tedious to where you're just like, okay, fine, I don't care. That's just the way it is.
Right.
You know?
Or things are
And
economies
I'm not
of
saying
scale.
that's a good thing, because it's a fucking awful thing. But that I think that lends itself to why.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's 100 reasons as to how we got there, but I think it's something that individually we should pay attention to.
Yeah, I agree.
And go, okay, well, I see this, but why? What happened before this? What happened before that? How did everybody even end up together here? And
Right.
like I said, I'm still on the police video thing, but it goes in all aspects
where our
of
food
life.
comes from. It always comes down to that. Like, people aren't super interested in where their food comes from. It's like, it's what we were just talking about. When you walk into a room and you flip on a switch, do you expect there to be lights that work and stuff? That doesn't mean, I mean, you know where the light bulbs go if you have to switch them, but you don't know how the structure of electricity works, how it gets to your house, where it's coming from, how it's created or mined or whatever. And we lose all of that. And then in the situation with the police thing, it's the same kind of thing. We don't know how the cause and effect. We know the last little bit
We know
of
what
a
the
long
effect
story.
was.
Yeah.
But you can't solve a problem just knowing what the effect was. You have to know what the cause is
Well, there
in
were a bunch
order
of
to
cause and
solve any
effects
kind of problem.
that came all the way.
in
yeah.
anything. Like electricity or a light bulb going out. Why? If you have a light bulb that goes out and you put it in, it goes out again. Do you just sit there and keep changing the light bulb? No, there's probably something going on with the wiring, but you have to get there. You can't just look at the light bulb keeps blowing out, so I don't know why. So finally, I just stopped changing it.
Right.
Well, no, you have to.
No, we just do
you have to
candles.
get to the cause.
Yeah.
Not just the end result. Does that make sense?
And I think you're right. We lose that need or want or desire. Not we. It seems like society or culture has strayed away from celebrating that.
Yeah.
I think lots of people give a shit about where their food comes from. And how things work.
We are really taught within the public school system. Even don't ask why.
I really do feel
Just
like
take my
schools
answer.
are designed to teach you how to be a good little factory worker,
Yeah.
and they have not updated for a long time.
It's true.
And that's the bells and the way the schedules are and all the things. It's like, I mean,
Standardized testing.
yeah, when you learn, and I don't remember who said this, but it's a fun thing. But when you're sitting in class and you learn that when the teacher's talking and then the bell rings and they stop mid sentence and they're like, "Oh, see you guys next week," or "See you tomorrow," and it's like that lesson meant nothing. The bell meant time means more than
Right.
the lesson. You don't give a. So then you're like, okay, this isn't
Listens
for
like teachers
me.
are underpaid. They don't want to work.
I mean, the only way
I love teachers. My God, sweet Jesus.
the only way that I can really think of this problem being solved is as individuals take a minute and think of, okay, well, this was the end result. How did we get here? Hey, on anything in life,
Yeah.
not just the two examples that I gave, obviously.
Well, that kind of understanding is kind of isn't that one of the keys to wisdom? Is like, okay, I can get all amped up at this surface level thing that I figured out, and this guy's in my face, and and sometimes you need to fight or flight and punch a guy or whatever. But sometimes you could be like, okay, I can see this guy's like been crying, and so that has nothing to do with me. And then you can kind of break things down where you're like, I still got to defend yourself or whatever, but you understand and empathize with people as you start to see where they're from or what the cause was, even close by.
Right.
Even if it was a lifetime of shit that led to them want to kick your ass at a bar.
And the question doesn't always have to be specifically why, but if you start asking and being in those situations thousands of times, if you start asking questions before having to defend yourself, you can start understanding there's a lot of shit going on that got him to where he's at right there, and then you can start working through those problems pretty much going backwards.
Right. And sometimes that turns into something terrible and ugly because whatever. But yeah,
it's a useful thing to condition yourself to not take shit for granted, which I think is basically synonymous with what you're saying about, just start reminding yourself to ask why and look for the context. And it lends itself to our earlier conversations about accounting for nuance. I mean, all of that kind of runs in the same vein. But I think that equally as important, if not perhaps more important than simply remembering to ask why, give a shit about the why, is to train yourself to recognize when it's important to ask why. Like when you're in certain situations and you're like, having more information here is critical and I need to go and seek it out. Asking why more often, like as much as you can, good practice. I'm for it. But once you start doing that, start paying attention and recognize, okay, like for an example, to make it less nebulous and more specific, if you're ingesting news, you should look at whatever it is, no matter what source it comes from, look at it and go, I wonder what's going on around this and why this happened. And then try to go find that out. If you care, if it's something you don't really care about, then I guess don't waste your time. But if it's something that moves you in some way or causes you to have a reaction, then you should want to know what the deal is. Like if somebody says, hey, Russia invaded Ukraine and there's a war, I think it's very unwise for you to just look at that and go, okay.
What's the TV say I should do?
Like you should want to know why that's happening.
Small world, you can learn a lot more than you could have back in the day.
Right. If you're finding yourself emotionally invested in something and all you see is a snippet and a conclusion, you should...
That's what propaganda do.
Maybe hold off that emotion or take your emotion and invest your time into that to find out, okay, how did we get here? I didn't like how this ended, but I don't know why it ended that way. That should be more important to you than what the conclusion was. Does that make sense? Am I getting the message clear?
Well, if there's a message with background music, that's your first key where it's like, okay, they're producing this message.
Fair enough.
It goes,
propaganda.
Yeah. We are probably the most propagandized generation on Earth in the history of Earth.
I think it's
just too easy to do.
For sure. Yeah. The
easy.
distribution of it is easier than it's ever been.
Crocky,
more effective. So, but yeah, I think.
Or don't just lead yourself by your emotions your whole life and tell me how that works out for you.
It's important to have strong reactions to some things. Like some things merit strong reactions.
Absolutely.
But it's very rarely wise, to your point, Jeff, it's very rarely wise to look at something at face value, have an emotional reaction, and then use that as a basis for immediate outrage and not seek any more information. And that's a hard one to swallow, but I feel like that's a big basis of like our podcast in general is like you might hear, in fact, you guys listening out there will almost definitely hear some shit come out of one or the three of our mouths at some point that you vehemently distree with. Or you have a knee-jerk reaction of like, what the fuck? Why would Shaiden say that? And that's okay. And we try to be good people, but we're not going to tiptoe around that either. It's just going to happen sometimes. Yeah, it is. But
we have thoughts about the world. They're not fucking curated through the proper channels. I didn't go to fucking Stanford.
Our ask as people who have tried to hold ourselves to this same standard is that if you have that moment, your feelings might be valid for some reason, but just take some time to examine why you felt the way that you did about it. And try to rationalize it to yourself, because that's what I try to do whenever, because I hear shit every single day that I'm like, what the fuck?
I know.
What the fuck? Like I came here today pissed off because of some shit I was looking into, and I was just like, but I talked to you guys about it off mic because you're kind of I like to bounce things off you for the sake of perspective, but I'm not going to go start a crusade, or start up a foundation just because I'm wound up about this thing, because I know precisely what it took me an hour of looking at it today about it, and I recognize that that's simply not enough to really have a solid foundation to stand upon. So
for sure,
the point of that whole rant is, it's good to have strong feelings about things, but it's rarely good to act upon them immediately until you get more information.
Amen.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed.
So we'll probably put that to bed, but just
No, I like that. That was a fun conversation.
I agree vehemently. It's always good to ask why. I had
keep your kids scientific.
It kind of reminded me of a cute story. Do you have something else, Jeff?
Yeah, just real quick.
Go ahead.
Again, as a parent, I understand it's very, very difficult when your kids keep asking why. But you know what? Keep answering them.
Yeah.
Because eventually you're going to satisfy them.
Yeah. You can tucker them out too.
And sometimes you just don't have the time. But really try to make the time. And you know, I'm not the greatest at it, but I'm certainly working hard at getting
Teach them
better.
it's okay to hear from their authority figure or, you know, parents where it's like, I don't know. And that's okay.
Yeah, and if I don't know, I flat out tell them.
Let's find out.
Let's go
know.
look.
Yeah,
let's find out if there's an answer.
The part right there. It's just like, I don't know, but let's go figure it out together if we can.
Sorry, tell your story.
So
a cute story.
It is a cute story. I had 2 nephews when I was a teenager, and they would come up to visit us in Canada. And Garrett and Keegan was just a little, like he was just kind of figuring out how to talk at this point, and Garrett was his older brother, and Keegan was doing this thing at the time that was just the funniest fucking thing to me, and it entertained me for the whole fucking amount of time that they were there. He would sit down with you, and he'd have this like very intense quizzical look on his face, and he would point at anything, literally anything, and he'd point at it, and he'd look at you and go, "What's that?" And then you'd tell him, and he'd go, and then he'd pick another thing, and he'd go, "What's that?" And then you'd tell him, and he'd go, and he would just do this endlessly.
He's like, I came here, I'm going to figure this all out one day.
And then my dad and I discovered that we could flip the tables on him, and it was hilarious because we'd be like, Keegan. He'd look at you, and you'd point at something. You go, "What's that?" And he'd look at it and go, he would just say, he was just
gibberish,
mimicking like the sounds that he's used to hearing in response to these things, but he hadn't figured out he hasn't made the connections yet. So we would just sit him at the table and be like, "Keegan, what's that?"
Right now in my house, I need to bust out the dictionary on my phone because Angelo is always asking how to spell stuff. He'll either throw out some letters and ask what it spells, and most times I'm like, dude, that doesn't spell anything. But
right.
You know,
well, that's OSHA.
His favorite one is what does HDMI spell? I'm like, that's not a word. That's an acronym. I don't even know what it stands for, though, dude. I have no idea.
High definition.
I knew that part.
Media interface.
Yep.
Oh, look at that. Yeah. Now I can tell him.
There you go.
But I wasn't
in there.
aggressive enough to look it up. But yeah, sometimes he asks how to spell something, and I'm like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Go ask your mom. I don't know. I have an 8th grade education. Leave me alone.
You don't have Google? Get out of my face.
Bring me the math or something. I don't know.
Go ask the AI assistant. I don't know. I'm busy.
That's a future too, and that's probably not a bad one. Teaching your kids, fucking, that might not be too bad.
More screen time for a kid. I'm gonna say, no.
It won't look like a screen then. It'll look like a fucking hologram hanging out in your
hologram.
House. It'll be a ghost.
Daycare.
You'll have a ghost lady that your kid's having sex with.
As a child who
teaching them
Did
math.
you just say that?
Yeah. What?
Somebody just had a knee-jerk reaction. What? As a child who had the internet play a large role in my development, I don't know if I want the internet raising kids necessarily.
Fair.
Yeah.
No.
There's a lot of walls.
Like, he basically just implied that we're going to have pedophile AI.
It's a fucking robot. I'm imagining
God
like the moment you found. I'm imagining AI will end up being kind of like how you're finding your dad's Playboy kind of thing is what I was thinking. Where it's like, you know, the dirty sock. It's like it's teaching me math, but hey, take your shirt off. Fucking hologram thing.
If dad has a dirty sock,
good God,
it's not. It probably
dirty.
isn't that good, and he's not going to be around very long. So
fair enough. All right, fucking.
And on that bombshell.
All right, let's get the fuck on to the Reasonablest Party. And we're going to talk marriage and divorce and where the Reasonablest Party would sit on that said things. I don't know. Where do you guys want to start? Like, I
don't want to sit on it. It doesn't sound very comfortable.
It doesn't.
First off, I totally disagree that if two people want to join in the connection of holy matrimony to be married, that the government should not have their hands in it. You should not have to go buy a license and do all that bullshit. Because really, what's the benefit of that other than the way that the system works?
Yep.
Yeah, it's a tax thing and an insurance thing at this point. And other than that, really, what's the benefit?
And with the way our current governmental structure is spending our taxes,
exactly.
They could use some less avenues to have our tax money.
Quit doing that.
Yeah. So getting married, you have to get this license from the government. And that license basically says that I love you so much that if you decide you don't love me one day, then I understand I might have to give you half my shit. That's a terrible contract to have.
It's weird.
Yeah,
we definitely have a weird system.
and that's all the government. That's not even any church or anything like that.
And we kind of laid that stance out when we talked about marriage.
All the social issues and stuff in general, yeah.
And so I feel like it would be incumbent upon us to have the same stance on divorce, or it's just like, look, if you guys got together of your own accord, you can split of your own accord.
Yep.
Like, I don't necessarily feel
or
that
even
there
just
should be
go into the
government
private,
involvement, you know?
or
Exactly.
even
No
the private,
intermediaries from the government either to come in and solve problems. That should definitely be,
There
private.
could be private industry that deals specifically with that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, the
with
kind of is,
mediation,
but
sure. I mean, people, especially depending on your situation, shit can get complicated, and like people in relationships are not always on an even playing field when it comes to their capacity to deal with that kind of shit.
For real.
So there's tons of room for people to take advantage of other people in either direction.
But if mediation
so
doesn't
having
work,
mediation would be. But I don't.
but if mediation doesn't work, it goes straight to the government.
I wouldn't go so far as to say that mediation should be mandatory either.
Absolutely not.
It
Private people should try
be
and
an
figure it out.
available service.
But when there's somebody that's wishing for something and it's not happening because of somebody being obtuse or obstructive or whatever, there needs to be some sort of recourse in the marketplace where the government is the force of, and we're gonna have a government with a reasonless party because that's fucking why we have a party, unfortunately. But
Well, yeah, I don't think that was ever really in question.
I know, but the fundamentalist
making
part
it
of
more
this
of a
that makes it
system.
suck is the fact that the government exists and we have to deal with the absurdity of it. I mean, the whole reason, I'm probably going off on a bit of a tangent, but
as you do.
I know. The whole reason the gay marriage is an issue is because we have to register it with the United States government. The United States government doesn't recognize this marriage, or it does now, or used, in a weird way.
Yeah, which is a weird thing. It's a weird premise.
Yeah, it's like this love,
like,
this love here, not okay. This love, sure, great,
Yeah,
thank you. We'll tax that. This love, not taxable, or whatever. And it's it's because that absurd government system exists in general.
People like flip that too, where they're like, well, if we didn't have those lines of distinction, then it's just anything goes, and there'd be all kind of deplorable shit, like pedophilia, like, oh, well, how come my love with this child isn't, and it's just like,
it's all about consent,
like,
guys.
Are we really, like,
But
if your argument hinges upon we're too stupid to draw those moral lines in the sand collectively, then that's a shitty argument.
It is a shitty argument. But it is the argument that's been thrown out there.
Within reason, if two people love each other and they want to tie their fates together to whatever degree makes sense to them, fucking have at it. And the government shouldn't have any fucking say in the beginning nor the end of it.
Right. Well, what about the flip side? There's kind of controversial territory. You can call things whatever you want. The idea of calling it marriage, because the idea in Western society and in these very heavily Christian societies is that marriage is very much an important part of the tenets of Christianity, and you can argue and debate overall how they do with that and all that stuff. But I've listened to people on the right currently who are talking about this very subject, where they're like, well, the word marriage, like, it's a very sacred thing to us, and you're desecrating it with what you're doing because it's about
I love
reproduction.
The word desecrate.
Right, I know. Like, absolutely destroy,
Well,
but it's about children. It's about family and a child. And, the argument against that's like, you can get married and not have kids.
This is a pretty simple argument to show that a lot of times religion and government are actually in bed together.
Right. Yeah,
So
big time. They pick the winners and losers. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, do you guys think it would be reasonable to say that the government
Was that maybe the wrong
shouldn't-
term for that? Them being in bed together.
No, it was very appropriate, I think. Do you guys think it's reasonable to say that the government shouldn't have authority over marriage and divorce as far as allowing and disallowing it or mediating it, but that if you decide to engage in whatever form of marriage, whether you're calling it marriage or partnership or what's that thing in Dragon Ball Z where they do the soul fusion? Somebody got that. That joke landed somewhere. I know it.
So the old guys are like, I remember the cartoon, but
whatever
I
it
didn't watch.
is, if you join your life with another person or persons, it should be like a thing that you notify the government of. Like, I mean, you're doing it as to tell other people, hey, we're bound together.
Well, I mean, you could
Because,
just change the address. One of you changes your address to the other one's house.
Well, I
and
guess so, but then what I mean,
more do they need?
But then how are we dealing with, like, you know, joint finances and, you know, legal, like, if somebody, like, if you go to the hospital and you're like, well, I'm her husband, you're like, how do we know?
Right.
You know
Well,
what
I mean, power of attorney.
Yeah.
Those kind of things. I mean, we just have to think ahead for those kind of things. I mean, what did couples that loved each other of the same sex do before it was legalized in the United States? I mean, they basically would write each other in each other's wills and there's some pretty strict
private contract
health
type stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is what would happen without government. I mean, government, what do they do? Let's steel man them like we do, right?
Mm-hmm.
What can government do well in marriage and divorce? What do they do well now, and what could they do well?
They
With the monopoly of force that they
keeping
are.
track of it.
taking taxes.
You should see Shaiden's face. He's not really into that answer.
Taking taxes.
I almost
is what
passed
they do
out. I
well.
laughed so hard inside. Taking taxes.
Yeah.
So marriage is a lot. What a slap in the face to same-sex couples.
Marriage is
They're
a
like, your
profitable
money's not
business."
good enough for us, you cunts. That's what a fucking shitty thing to say for decades. Yeah, so come on, we got to do better than that. Steel man it. In divorce, I mean, it's the legal system of the government that's doing a lot of the stuff. That's at least if shit falls apart, they come at you and they throw you in a
It's
cage.
the civil system. Yeah.
Right. I don't know if that's good either. We're kind of talking our way out of government. There's really no way to talk government up. It's really difficult. But
I know when you said we got to do better than this, I was like, how?
well, okay. Well, the taxes go for my roads sometimes, right? They make my roads.
Do they?
But my roads are great. They bomb a lot of people with their. Okay, so we're not steel manning this very well.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, obviously, Reasonable's Party, and we've already talked about social issues. They don't belong in government at all. How do you dismantle what we've built? With we've got government
I'm
so
pretty sure that
embedded
if we
in
had
our
a way to
marriage.
do that, then it would already be dismantled.
You think so? There's a lot of people that really
Maybe.
love government.
So here's
really,
the
really
catch
love it.
with that, man. Like so the essence, the nature of power is creating a need, not a want, but a need in people's minds. Whether it's truly a need or not, you create a need in their minds, and then you, by extension, create a fear of having to live without that thing that you've come to be conditioned that you need.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's like
The only reason
that's the reason, in my opinion, that shit hasn't been dismantled. It's not that it can't be dismantled. It's just that the discomfort and the fear that goes along with that dismantling of people going, but where am I going to get my next iPhone from? Where am I going to get my gas from? Where am I going to get my power
I don't
from?
have.
Who's going to protect me from people I don't want to have to shoot?
People will not cooperate with each other for their own mutual benefit without government putting a gun to their head. Fucking no way.
And I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't share some of that trepidation. You know
Same.
what I mean? Like, 'cause I'm right here in the
It's
fucking
all an
system
experiment.
with you guys.
Yeah, no
So
shit.
I don't
want to place myself on a pedestal, being
Yeah.
like, I could do it, you pussies.
Yeah, I have
you know?
no idea. I just know that some of the stuff seems real bad.
I don't have
know.
any ties to any type of religion. I don't want any ties to the government. But if I was to ever get married again in my life, the only purpose that it would be for is on some sort of insurance purpose, because you have to be married in order to carry somebody on your insurance.
Right. You're married.
which is a contract through the government, which I think is ridiculous.
You're married as much as you can be married to the person you're with right now, as far as what your heart wants and what your brain likes and stuff like that. I'm sure. I'm speaking for you, but I mean, blah, blah, blah. You have a good relationship. Doesn't matter. I love the Doug's.
Having a piece of
Surprise,
paper.
Paulie, you're married.
Yeah, there you go. You walked around the fire 3 times and you're married.
Gotcha,
But
bitch.
There's the Doug Stanhope thing where it's like, one of his things, he's like, man, baby, this thing we got together so good. We got to get the government in on this shit. You know, it's like, yeah, why? Why? So they can take your money, and that's it.
Yeah.
So we don't want to take people's money.
I'm vehemently opposed to
For the
that. Like,
government.
if I truly cared about somebody enough that I wanted to deeply involve them in every aspect of my life for the foreseeable future, the last thing I would want to do was try to make some kind of fucking, like, stuff it in a box that was made for me that gave somebody else oversight over aspects of it. Why? That seems like a fucking awful thing to do to somebody
You
that
take
you claim to
power
love so much.
away from yourselves in these situations every time. I mean,
And
when you
the
go and get
nature
a
of
divorce, holy
relationships-
shit.
The nature of relationships in general, whether it's friendships or romantic relationships, is the more you try to define them and put a label on them, the cheaper they tend to feel.
No shit. And then when you're writing it on a tax form, it's like, this feels cheap.
Yeah.
Like, how much are you worth to me, wife? It's like,
Right.
Well,
oh,
and on
God.
top of the fact that the reality is, I mean, you know, monogamy in general is a societal contract, but it's not natural to what we are as animals, and that's why a lot of marriages dissolve, because people grow in different directions, or one grows and the other one doesn't grow, and they go away.
Right.
And the government capitalizes off of that.
They do. They do.
The whole thing
I don't know,
is...
how much money do they make off that, I wonder? We should see if there's like I mean,
shit tons,
they're
I'm
not
sure.
trying to make a profit. They just do stuff, right? So it's punishment.
Yeah. Well, there's... the whole thing is so silly on the face of it. Like, it's not... You don't even have to look far to see. And I'm not saying that the nature of the commitment is silly. That's the good part, in my opinion. But it's all of the bureaucracy that goes along with it in our system is so fucking silly. And to make a specific example of this, my brother's gonna be moving down here, and he's engaged to his girlfriend who lives here.
Two wonderful folk.
Yeah, and she's been my best friend for a long time, and I mean, he's my brother, so I want the best for him, obviously. But they share a lot of our feelings on this subject matter, and so I got ordained from a website.
Yes. Yes. Fight the
It
power.
took me about 10 minutes.
Fight the power.
And then I paid them $50 to send me notarized copies of everything I need to file with the state, so that I actually can legally marry them.
Well, every one of you can do this too, by the way. You're all Discordian
I'm going
popes.
to do that, and it's just going to be like us three and a couple of witnesses probably, and that's it. And if they want to have a reception type thing, you know, later, like actually have some kind of a ceremony just to celebrate it, which I imagine they probably will, knowing the two of them. And I'm like, fuck yeah, have a party. That's the only good part of a wedding is the reception.
Yeah.
You know?
Is the drunk happy friends.
Right.
Yeah.
But as far as just getting the shit done that needs to get done, they were like, let's have it as fucking low maintenance and in our tight-knit circle as we possibly can. And that just turned into me getting ordained and jumping through some silly hoops, and they sent me a fucking card for my wallet as part of my welcome kit.
You get like, I could talk to God and marry you with God
I want to
card.
go to like the nightclub downtown and be like, oh, you clearly don't know who I am.
Do you have to pay taxes
I'm a
still now?
minister. I don't know.
You claim your own church.
You should walk around with like the little collar on,
They
or
sell them
pick
in,
a
that
religious
website I went through.
garb.
They have like a web store that sells like
the garbs.
like
No
the
fucking way.
garb and
Oh,
the
man.
robes. And
It's
shit.
so hard to become a preacher or a
It's very
priest. Like, you
obvious
gotta go
that
to
they're
school.
kind of like thumbing their nose at it, but I think that's part of what I love about it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and I mean, no shade to somebody who wants to have the whole, you know, the official aspect of it, but you can do that and approach it with reverence depending on your beliefs or, you know, your shared values without involving the bureaucracy.
I'm not
That's my
anti-ceremony
point, you know.
by any means.
Oh,
I'm
no.
not
Neither am I.
anti-ceremony at all. You should
humans love
celebrate the
ritual.
fact.
That's good.
What's
for us.
that?
Humans love ritual, and it's good for us. Sorry.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic, but there is no place for government in marriage or divorce. Period.
No, right.
There's
We're kind
not.
of.
I figured you would just appreciate that, especially Zach, 'cause
Yeah.
it's like a little stroke of anarchy. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I'll play your stupid game.
I love it. I love it.
I am Father Shaiden now.
I love that. I think all of us should do that too. We'll marry you guys if you want. It's $1,500.
That's one step closer to the cult, you guys. I'm ordained.
That's right. I think.
Snowball continues.
Speaking of the cult of the curious, I think Dan's ordained too.
Yeah,
he
good.
did that same thing.
Well, Monique's ordained
is,
too, yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I went down the pathway. Like that was part of the silly thing that my mom signed me up for, but I didn't finish it. And it would have been 10 minutes on the course. I
Yeah.
just didn't get to that part of the course or whatever. But that was one of the things you got from it, was you get to do that. But anyway, it was so weird before I got to that, and I'm not even going to get into it.
If I had a lot of disposable income, I would just want to like buy a big fucking boat and be like, on my ship, oh, I'm captain on my ship, and I can marry people at sea. You know,
Fuck
like that.
yeah.
That's
It's a little L. Ron Hubbard-ish, but still good.
Who's driving the boat when you're doing that? That's my concern.
Right. I like the idea of doing
It's not on a road. Just point it somewhere where there's nothing.
right. Exactly. Just you got about an hour before this thing goes off.
Right. Let's get to it.
Yeah. Let's not get too drunk tonight. But I thought for sovereign, just way off on a tangent, but we want to do sovereign city in the future. I mean, we still do, very much so.
Yeah.
We're working on these things to make this like big festival of sovereign wasteland world and stuff. And Monique and I both like the idea of all of us, the ones of us that are ordained, doing weddings and stuff as part of that event. Have like 3 or 4 and have
Some
a
straight
big
weddings,
fucking
let's
yes,
go.
that would be so fun. That'd be so fun. If people are spending all this money on weddings anyway, we'll be cheaper and it'll be more fun.
Your wife and I teaming up on a marriage would be so fucking
That would be tight.
intimidating. That would be fucking awesome.
That'd be super tight. Oh my god!
Just
you
all
know.
decked out in our garb, just
Oh, dude.
just straight and Amara up there. Fucking, you'd be like, you will treat each other with respect.
They're like, we are going to for sure. I will think of this. Holy fuck, that guy's got an owl mask. All right. So obviously, we spent quite a bit of time talking about basically absolutely no government in marriage, and that would put an end to the debate over and call it whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah,
Call
down
it
But I will
marriage.
say,
bourgeoisie.
Yeah.
but not to be confused with, if you want church, if that's your thing, and you want your church involved in your marriage, outstanding. Do your thing.
That's right.
That doesn't bother me.
Dictatorship of the proletariat is what we've decided. No, absolutely not. All right, unfuck our lives, Jeff. That is our new official segment for what Jeff does. here.
Unfuck yourself.
Towards the end of the
Can you
show.
spell that for me? Is that gotta?
UNPHUCK.
Unfuck yourself, but I want you to unfuck me. You unfuck me. I'm not going to unfuck myself. You unfuck
Yeah, I
me.
Well,
fucked
see,
him.
here's
You
the thing.
unfucked him.
I spent
Get
a
his
lifetime.
dick out my ass.
First off, I'm going to go off on that a little bit. I
Okay.
spent a lifetime of thinking that I had the ability to unfuck people's lives, and you know what I learned?
Not
I
a
was
thing.
full of fucking shit. I
Surprise!
don't. However,
Well done.
your life is your responsibility, and it is your responsibility to unfuck your shit.
There you go.
However,
Well, I gave you a softball.
throughout
There you go.
life,
You thrashed me in town square. With my soft-
throughout life, people learn things from and have some tips on maybe how to do that.
Let's hear him. I want to hear this
Just a
shit.
tip, though. I'm not ready for it.
These
Yeah,
are maybe
dude. No
just
shaft
things
or
that would
nuts.
be things to think about life. Having the courage to be disliked is an underrated superpower.
Yeah. I'm not great at that. I don't think. I'm like, please like me. Goddamn.
I'd
No.
rather be able
Yeah.
to teleport, but
I think I'm pretty. I think I'm pretty good at it.
I'd rather talk to the fishes. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd take Aquaman's power over that. But yeah.
That's all we got on that.
I don't know. Say it one more time to refresh the juices in my brain.
we have
Having
to get
the-
our smartassery out first. It's the rule.
Yeah.
Having the courage to be disliked is an underrated superpower. In other words, not giving a shit what other people say gives you a lot of power and helps you continue on the course of where you're going. Because if you are so worried about other people's opinions and what they're going to think about you, you might have some really good ideas or be on a really good path, but somebody that you know is negative towards what you're doing, simply working out is a great example of that. If somebody that you has been your friend for years and you've been out drinking and partying with them, and suddenly now you're cutting them off and going, hey, well, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm taking care of myself, and that's hurting their feelings, and they start bashing you because you're so worried about their opinion. You may stop your course of action to improve yourself just to not upset them and be right back where you were. And then what goes on with your life? You don't advance. So
Yeah. I think that courage also implies not necessarily that you don't give a fuck what people think of you, but it's being brave enough to act in spite of that. Act based on your convictions in spite of that, even knowing that it may likely make somebody think less of you or not like you,
Right.
or change their opinion of you.
Yeah.
if you aren't the villain in somebody's life, you are not living correctly.
Yeah, for sure.
That's just the way
That's
it
a
is.
good
And I
quote.
mean, there's you gotta pay attention too, because like your example is poignant, Jeff, but also like you're still capable of maintaining your friendships when you make changes in your life. Like you get, like, if somebody's like, hey, let's go hang out, or we're having this, we're going to karaoke at the bar. Just because you're not drinking doesn't mean that you can't go and spend time with your friends either.
I agree with that.
So, and that's not running counter to your point. That's just making a distinction to where it's just like, don't go so far the other direction that you're like, I'm doing what I want and fuck everybody else.
Right.
It's just like you got to find the balance.
We're going to get
between
on
the
this
two.
later, probably next episode. I had a whole thing that I wanted to talk about on that, actually.
All right, I'll shut up.
So
I had a thing too. Don't I? Just
No,
move.
You shut up
Go
too.
ahead.
No.
go.
No, I got nothing.
Okay.
Well, read it one more time.
Having the courage to be disliked is an underrated superpower.
No, it's not. No. Well, you're telling that that quote is you, but
Yeah, I'm repeating something someone
of
else
course,
said on
of
this.
course. To 3 podcast hosts, I mean, and we're whatever size, we've already made our okay. Like, people don't like us. There's people that have listened to the show and are like, fuck you. There's people that we know that are like, oh,
Nice.
that's how Shaiden thinks?
Nice.
Fuck him.
Hate me more.
But you've decided already to be okay. But I
Put your
still,
tears in a jar and send it to me. I'll drink them and become more powerful.
but I know that we all have, like, just to varying degrees, it still bothers us when somebody says something publicly, like about, like in our situation, about podcasting, I would imagine.
Especially if I like them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Those kind of things. So it's like, it's a weird...
But you were the chosen one, Anakin.
You were my brother. But, you know, it's one of those weird things where, I mean, we've already decided it's like, it doesn't matter what people say, even, I mean, unless it's like they're catching you on something that you shouldn't have said and was ridiculous and you should bow down and leave society or whatever. But in general, you don't stop doing what we're not going to stop doing what we're doing because of people's opinions.
I certainly may defend my position as to, you know, whether it be I said something,
right, or we might learn
someone
something
doesn't like
publicly,
what
right.
I'm doing.
Yeah. Or I might put a sack of dog shit on your porch and light it on fire.
But it isn't
ding dong ditch.
But it isn't going to make me. It isn't going to make me stop doing what I'm doing just because I hurt somebody else's feelings.
Or if they
necessarily,
or if they're trying to hurt your feelings. Like, I mean, I'm sensitive to that kind of stuff where it's like, yeah, I didn't think this was as funny as this, or this is, you know, this could be better here or that. I mean, I don't read these things, but those are the examples of what could be. And it's like, how much does that matter? Because there's a part of us that really wants to please other people, especially in the entertainment field. Like, I want you guys to come to my show, and I don't want a single person to leave and be like, he kind of just phoned that in. It's not my style. I want them to be like, fuck, that was the best. Right.
Well, you know,
or
me,
when they listen to
honest.
SKATCAST, I don't want to be like, well, he just phoned in that last little skit or whatever. It's like, no, that was all the best I could do. That's the best I could do. And if it's, you know, whatever.
Well, I can think of 2 different incidents that you've had art. That it was a song that I'm like, that one's not my favorite, and you were hurt by it.
Oh yeah, I'm like,
but
you're out of my life. I cut you out of my life.
But you wanted an honest opinion, and I gave.
No,
it to
I
you.
didn't.
Like,
You'll never hear me say that. You've never heard me say that to you ever.
Lie to me.
Tell me about how you think of my song. You'll never hear me say that. That was you offering your opinion on my song. Not wanted.
And he's still upset about it.
Do you care? No one cares. If it's when you bring a song to the band and they're like, and we start playing it and then we keep playing it, you're like, they like it.
It's funny because
If
you
they
ended up.
don't, they don't like it.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's funny is you made the song better after that too.
Nah.
Yeah, you did. And then when you're skits, and I always said was that one's not my favorite, but I understand the premise of it.
Right, and you got cut out of my life after that.
I
was
know.
like,
And then
you
we
know
didn't
what?
talk for 6 months
Surprised you were allowed in the house today.
because you care too much about other people's feelings.
No, I choose to surround myself with people that are yes men. Period. I think
That's a problem.
me and President
You
Z.
will blow air up my skirt,
That's
or
all
you
I
will
want.
be gone.
No,
So anyway,
I'm always open for
So
criticism.
number one
even-
was totally for you.
okay.
That's what I'm saying.
He was thinking of me when he typed it out or wrote it down or
I'm
whatever.
just gonna fire this across your bow. See how
I want you to know this.
Number
about
2 is
yourself.
for you too.
Okay.
If you let their compliments go to your head, then their criticism will likely hurt your heart.
Aw, you think I have a soft heart?
Well, you just kind of mentioned.
That's not for me. I'm a cunt, dude. Like, I mean, have you listened to my show? I don't give a fuck.
it just
What are you talking-
happened. Is that
Okay, fair enough.
That's not for me.
I think all I did.
Cleverly laid trap. There was
It
no
was.
correct answer for you, Zach.
That's fair. But I think I put my point out there pretty lucid. So, you know, whatever.
Whatever.
No.
I don't care what you think.
I'm a person and I get emotional if I do want to please people. That is the problem with being an artist. It's like, or entertainer, I guess.
Okay.
If you come and, you know, if I'm playing a song for you at a campfire, I hope you like it. But if you come to a show or if you tune into my show, it's like, I really want to please myself. I want it to be the best it could be. That's all I'm trying to do. But I don't want you to leave and be like, I hate that. But I don't care also.
Right. But I
That's the
think
thing. Like, that's the weird double-edged sword of what we're doing, or the duality of what we're doing. It's like, I can't really care if you're like, I've listened to you for 50 episodes and now I hate you. It's like, okay, I'm sorry, but whatever.
Well, I think this is, you know, you can't let the compliments go to your head any more than you can let the criticisms go to your head.
I don't feel like I accept compliments.
I'm not saying that you do. I was just really kind of fucking with you about
Yeah,
that.
I know that. But that's why I feel like that one was different, because I don't like compliments that much.
Accept compliments with humility.
Yeah.
And accept criticism with discernment.
Shit, yeah.
Yeah.
I try and learn stuff for sure. Jeff made my song better. Did you hear him? See what he said?
No, you made your song better
Thanks to you.
because you wanted to please me.
Which was your point, you controlling son of a bitch.
This one's kind of long.
All right.
You teach people how to treat you based on the way that you walk, talk, the energy that you exude, the behavior that you tolerate, and the behavior that you tolerate.
Ooh.
So if you don't like the way that you're being treated, then you're a shitty teacher. I think this is about boundaries.
I love the word exude.
That is a good word. It's like desecrate.
So I think this is about boundaries. If
That
you,
exudes
if,
desecration.
if you're constantly feeling like somebody's treating you like shit, first off, why are you around that person?
Yeah. What you accept, I really like how that was worded.
Yeah, and you know, I fell victim to this myself, really, in my personal life for a lot of years.
We've all accepted really unacceptable behavior in our lives for extended periods. Yeah.
And I did recognize that it was my fault. I you know, that person is a shitty person, but it's my fault for allowing it to happen and not enforcing the boundaries that I should have enforced. And I've done that, you know, a lot within my personal life as opposed to my professional life, mostly because of my personal life. I made so many decisions for people in my professional life that by the time I got to my personal life, the short amount that I had, I didn't want to make decisions.
You're like, what do you want to eat? You're like, I don't like
I don't
food.
know. Yeah.
No
Just
food.
tell me what I'm going to do, I guess, pretty much.
Yeah.
And got myself trampled on by a lot of people for a long time in my life.
Yeah. Will you do? I know it's a long one again. Will you read it one more time?
Yeah. You teach people how to treat you based on the way that you walk, talk, the energy that you exude, and the behavior that you tolerate. So if you don't like the way that you're being treated, then you're a shitty teacher.
So, yeah.
Who's treating somebody differently because of the way they walk?
You can tell by the way I kiss my walk.
You can't tell by the way
I can tell the
talk,
way
I'm a
he
soccer player,
walks.
Don't wear no job.
He's a whore. He's a slut.
Yeah, you can't stop people from acting like shitty people and treating you like shit, but you can absolutely choose not to tolerate it.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh. I like that one though. That was an interesting little thought.
That takes different forms too. Like you can, I mean, that might just be as simple as being like, "Hey, dude, don't fucking talk to me like that." Like it could be just simply like setting an expectation, like, "Don't fucking, I don't like that," or it could be like, "You're not gonna change, and I don't want to deal with that." So hasta la vista.
Yeah, but sometimes it takes a long time to get to that
Yeah,
point.
for sure.
Yeah.
And sometimes it should. You know.
All right, number 4. The more you force a relationship, the more likely you are to break up. I think that is tried and true, and everybody's probably done it at some point in their life.
This is a
except for
romantic
Shaiden.
Never be
relationship.
forcing any relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
But how many times have people found themselves where it's all good for that 6 months, and then all of a sudden the red flags start popping up, and they're just like, "Oh boy, I want it back to where how it was." So they try harder and harder and harder, and then it just turns into this just god awful catastrophe. And you know, sometimes even by 6 months, people are so deep into it that they really have a difficult time getting out.
For sure. There does seem like there's one little side thing where it's like, well, the kids. If there's kids involved.
Well, in 6 months, if there's kids, that's kind of strange.
Well, that's impossible. But I mean, but it didn't say 6 months in your thing.
No,
did it?
no,
Okay.
just in my-
yeah. So I'm just throwing it out there as a
You're right.
after 9 months or so.
Right.
Newsflash to anyone who hasn't figured it out yet: the early days of any relationship are not indicative of the way that it's going to go long term.
Normally, I would say
Because
that.
both of you are fucking faking things,
Absolutely.
and that's just the way it is.
I would
Try
say
not
that
to.
until
Okay, and you'll find a good one.
Until
it's
now.
okay. Like try not to, but like it's natural to want to impress each other
Yeah,
while you're
yeah,
still
yeah.
connecting. So it's just kind of a side effect of the nature of the beast. But
Yeah.
just
But the less amount you can do that.
when you hit a point where you're like starting to see all these red flags and you're going, well, I just want it to be back to the way that it was. Well, this is probably the way that it was. It was just dressed up before. So
Yeah.
maybe just
True.
That was a lot more
take
sexy
stock,
time in the
keep it in
beginning.
perspective.
That's all. You guys didn't know shit about each other. That's the problem. All right.
Yes, I'm a pessimist. Yes, I'm also right.
No. It doesn't make you right. No, you're right.
I'm right.
You could be right.
I think this one's more of an in general. Again, there's people that are in your lives that, well, hopefully you'll shake them out with this. But when you are mentally and emotionally healthy, then you're able to bring out the best in everyone around you. Therefore, putting yourself first is the most selfless thing that you can do. I agree with this in the fact that, again, throughout my life, I spent so much time addressing other people's problems and trying to help them fix their stuff and thinking that I had the ability to do that I had ran my tank empty. I wasn't really taking care of myself. And then finally there was some things that happened.
Sucked is what you're saying.
Yeah, there was some things that happened in my life that made me recognize, I need to work on me and fix some things. And then it was sought by those other people that I was being selfish. No, I had to get selfish to fix myself so I could better help people in their lives. Does that make sense?
It's your responsibility to do the things that you need to do. No one else will do it. And if you expect other people to do it, you're really asking way too much of the universe.
But if you have a motivation to truly want to help people help themselves, you have to take that time to help you so you have the energy. So really taking care of yourself is very selfless because it allows you to have the energy to help other people.
I think so. I mean, you got to clean your own room before you can clean other people's rooms, right? Or clean the world or whatever.
Well, more to the point, if you're not, whatever, there's a number of analogies you can put to it. Like,
let's put 4 or 5 out there.
If you're not sharpening your sword first, you're not going to be effective in fighting the battle for somebody else. Yeah. If you're not caring for your tools, they're not going to perform well when you apply them to your trade.
Yeah.
Is
that about my guitar?
Take care of your guitar now. And wrap your cables properly. But
I refuse.
The point being, at the essence of all of that shit, is exactly what you're laying out there, Jeff. Is if you don't have your shit in order and squared away to at least a certain degree, then you're not going to be of any use to anybody anyway. And trying to manufacture that in the moment, you might have limited success with, but it's going to come at a cost, and you're not going to be as effective as you would have been if you had actually taken time to situate yourself.
And there's a whole huge difference in doing things for other people, like literally and physically, to make their lives better versus showing them how to do it. And if you're trying to lead by example, if you're not taking that time to be selfish so you can be selfless, they don't have an example to follow. Mm-hmm. So that's where I'm going with that. So again, these are all not my words. I stole this off of a thing, but I agree with it.
You plagiaristic bastard!
No, it's not that. It's they're good principles, and I just kind of wanted to break them down.
Jeff said he did all this himself.
That's not what I said.
He's a phony.
This was from his book. She's plagiarized.
Don't be cunts. That's not what I said. Don't start saying that shit, because that's not true.
Clip this only. Clip this part.
He's a phony, and now he's faking outrage.
Figures.
Jeff's gonna hit me.
Fucking
This is getting MMA style in this house.
Okay, stop focusing on the goal and start focusing on becoming the type of person that can actually achieve the goal. Again, I agree with this 100%. It's nice to know what the goal is, but if you're you have to continuously work all the steps to get to that goal. Mm-hmm. And if you're just looking at the goal, you're not going to be doing the steps. Therefore, you're probably not going to succeed in that goal. 75 Hard is a fantastic example of that. I mean, 75 days, if you're looking at the 75 days, you're going to quit. I mean, you're just flat out going to quit. If you're like, I've only got, what do we got? I don't even know the math on it right now. We're on what?
18?
19, 20?
19? I don't know.
I don't know. I say it every day on the Facebooks, and
we got 55 more days.
We got a lot of days. But if my only goal was just to get to that 75th day, I'm not going to make it. It's about developing the principles and going through the literal steps of it to create the person that can actually make it that far.
Yeah, I like that.
I think
that's a pretty personal thing. That takes some time and some work to figure out. But that's kind of what we were talking about earlier, about knowing where things happen, knowing where food comes from, knowing how the world works, knowing what it takes. You might not know, but trying to figure it out, kind of thing.
That one's kind of an extension of the one before it too. I feel like
it is.
It's an extrapolation from it. I think we should make some merch in our store that is a bunch of posters of Jeff in various whimsical situations, and we'll make them just like those motivational posters that everybody's seen in a fucking workplace at some point, like the little cat hanging on the branch. Hang in there. We'll just like put some of these like these little nuggets of wisdom on there, but just like have Jeff like fucking hanging from Zach's car. Like,
one of my favorites
sounds great.
Never give up. And it's this frog halfway down a pelican's throat, and his
strangling
arms are out, he's strangling it.
Yeah, that's a great one. Now, how do we remake that one with Jeff somehow?
We have a toothpick stuck halfway down his throat.
Maybe
that's a real worry for us toothpick guys.
Like a garbage disposal, a garbage compactor or something.
Yeah.
Okay, you got to wear your short shorts though.
Absolutely.
Right.
The shorter the better.
Yeah. And somebody asked me, like, how many followers have you got since you were wearing those shorts? I'm like, I don't know, like 200.
Yeah. More.
She's like, that seems reasonable.
Shorts for life.
More.
You're not happier when you have... Let me try that again. You are not happier when you have everything you wanted. You are happiest when you're in the process of getting what you want and things are going well.
Okay.
In other words, the journey.
Yeah.
That is so true. I find it to be totally true.
The happiest I've ever been in my life has just been like, I get to do this today. And it's not the end. It's just, it's the means. The means are the fun part to get to the end, I guess. The end is like your death is what it feels like. I know there's goals and stuff like that, but for me, my life feels like there's no end goal that I'm really going for. I guess be able to touch my toes and...
It's about getting up 70, every day and going 80. Through a process and learning and literally enjoying that. And you get fruits of your labor as well, which is fantastic and an ultimate goal, right?
For sure, yeah. But it's not, honestly, I'm one of those kind of people where if I've got enough food for the day and I have the things that I have the time to do what I want to do, and everybody around me is pretty much content, and they'll leave me the fuck alone so I can do what I want to do. I'm just like, yep.
You're in your zone.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah, the journey has always been the happiest part. Yep. And I love being frustrated about something and literally sitting and thinking, what is it? What is it that I have to learn about this? What is it that I have left to learn? There's something that I'm missing.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to figure it out because right now I'm super frustrated, but I know it's coming. And having the wherewithal to understand that, I think is really big. And it helps me quite a bit, It doesn't mean that every day is fucking peachy,
right?
But it does help me a lot.
Yeah,
looking to know that something else is coming.
Yeah, looking at life like it's always helped me. The stoicism, a lot of those points of view are helpful. Where you're like, here's this terrible thing in my life, but you can think about it as a thing that is a catalyst for good, kind of thing. So I don't know. I've always thought that's being able to flip the perspective on things has always been the helpful little trick. Anyway,
and kind of what I just said ties into number 8, and it's I think where everybody struggles. Not giving a fuck about things that you can't control is the foundation of inner peace, and that's what we all search for, is an inner peace. And it is, for me, particularly coming from a law enforcement standpoint, where I was the one making decisions on everything, and I was brought into people's homes and huge situations to be the one that was in control. And when there's something that I don't have that kind of control of an outcome, it can be super frustrating and really unsettling. But that's when I get into there's something here for me to learn yet, and I don't know what it is, and I'm waiting, and I'm going to ride this out to figure out what it is, and it'll come, and I know that I'm going to appreciate this down the line. Mm-hmm. This struggle means something, and I strongly believe that any struggle, there's something positive on the end of that.
There's always lessons.
And maybe I'm fucked up. Maybe I'm totally wrong, but that's how I feel.
You're not wrong about that. A lot of people learn best through struggle.
I think it's the only way you can
certainly learn.
Adversity is the only thing that can really teach you.
We learn not to touch this hot stove real quick, and the life is a whole bunch of hot stoves where you're like, oh, fuck, I can't do that again. Oh, shit, don't talk to that guy. Oh, fuck.
Yeah. I mean, most of what I do and, trying to take care of myself physically and mentally is really, it's not to live this inner peace necessarily. It's to be prepared for the next time we get kicked in the nuts.
Yeah.
So to speak, proverbially speaking.
Be able to ride that foot in the nuts real well. I know. Yeah. Like, try your best. It's like a buck and bronco. It's like, okay, it's right in the nuts. It hurts. But I can make it hurt a little less over here if I.
A lot of life is one. We just live from one catastrophe to another, and obviously the better that you take care of yourself, and the more experience that you have in dealing with catastrophe, the better that you do when you're in the middle of one.
I love the word catastrophe too. It's French. They pronounce it catastrophe.
That's all I got on that. Those are some ways to maybe unfuck yourself.
I love. Thank you for that. And we've got to segue into your next thing that we'll kind of head into that. Astrophy, catastrophe has the word aster in it.
It does.
Which is star, which is this is Michael Tsarian throughout this shit. He's like, it's about the Star Wars double. Never, I'm not even going into it. Double suns. It's real symbolism.
It also has the word ass in it.
Son of a bitch. But whoever came up with that word knew that the suns exploded and that we came from Stargate. That's a really dumb conspiracy that's going to resonate with 0% of the listeners.
Some kind of merch play on catasterisk, like a
kitty butthole.
Really horrible kitty butthole is a catasterisk.
You're great at these.
Is that like a trilogue? It's got like an anal fissure. Is that what we're doing?
It's prolapsed down.
One of the points on the asterisk is just like missing.
That would throw me off.
Catasterisk.
I would have a hard time with that. Yeah, it's just geometrically off. Like,
yeah.
All right, this is advice that we give ourselves, and this is Jeff, and this kind of goes with the unfuck yourself thing. Do the right thing.
Yeah. Acknowledge your mistakes, and let me
is this another list?
Yeah, no, it's just something I wrote many moons ago.
Lists in here?
Acknowledge your mistakes and bad decisions, but don't live there. It's okay to reflect, be upset with yourself, even mourn a bit, but then you have to redirect and move forward and put it behind you. And remember, but learn and act from it. In other words, just when bad shit happens or you fail at something, it's okay to sit and take a little time and examine what happened. But you can't stay there too long. You have to, once you feel satisfied with that, or even before you feel satisfied for it, just understand it's part of life, and then you got to move forward and figure out what you're going to do from there.
Right.
Yeah, sit with it, but don't allow it to trap you.
Yeah. And Shaiden talks about this a lot.
Yeah, and lean into it, walk into the trouble, and get it over with, right?
Yeah, I don't think I've said this many ways already on the podcast, but I'll reiterate because I don't feel that I can say it enough because nobody ever listens to me. But it's never wisdom to shy away from uncomfortable things, so if you are faced with a situation that you feel a certain way about, or you have a certain amount of guilt about, or it's just something that is simply uncomfortable to you for whatever reason, it behooves you to take the time to fucking sit with that, give it a little bit of validity, and work with it so that you can move forward. Because if you don't, then you not only do you miss out on a lesson that you could have learned and a bit of growth that you could have attained, but there's a very high probability that something just like it will come down the pike again in the future, and it'll fuck you over again just as hard because you didn't take the time to sit down and sit with it the first time and develop some coping mechanisms and some insight into it and some ability to roll with it and continue to move forward.
And that kind of falls into that intentionally making yourself uncomfortable every day. I mean, when you do that, you're more prepared for uncomfortable situations. They don't have to be parallel to what the intentional uncomfortableness is, but it does. Your body goes through the same stresses, whether it be a mental uncomfortableness or a physical uncomfortableness. Your body still responds to it the same way.
Yeah. So put your hand on the stove every day, once a day.
Just how you learn.
Yeah, just try and get
you got to get used to discomfort.
Keep it there a little bit longer every day.
And eventually you'll have a superpower.
Please don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah.
We don't.
And hold your pee until it hurts.
All right. And the good advice continues. Rocking and rolling. All right. Well, let's do the right thing. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do the right thing.
that leads us to our very last segment. And we are at the end of the ride, but there's still a bunch of little loop-de-loops, it seems, at the end. And this is about a thing that Shaiden learned called Black Rock.
Oh, God.
And you may have heard this shit in the news. This seems like a cereal thing. We're going to get all cereals.
Yeah, it is. Okay. So, sorry, guys. Normally I try to do the things I learned with something that's like, oh, wow, that's fascinating or fun or cool or some shit. But this time it's just something that disturbs me and kind of pisses me off. And I've learned a lot about it recently, and I feel like you guys should know too. So you're welcome in advance. Okay. So BlackRock Incorporated. For anybody who's not familiar, BlackRock is a massive investment firm, and they own a controlling interest in a stupid amount of large companies. Like, for example, small mom and pop shops such as Google, Apple, Tesla, Facebook, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman.
So Illuminati scum is what you're saying.
The list goes on, yeah. And I'm not saying that they just have some shares of, like, they are the market for these companies, right? That's a little bit nefarious in and of itself, just because it's a huge concentration of power and wealth that is like.
What do they do? What are they up to?
So
what are they interested in?
And some of what they're up to has been made abundantly clear recently, because the arms that the United States has sent to Ukraine, which is consisted of a whole lot of missiles, which is kind of the crux of this, but there's been a lot of other things as well. But the arms and resources that were sent to Ukraine to help them with their war effort are being replenished by companies that Lockheed Martin is reaping all the profits on. So essentially, I mean, and that's no shock to anybody really who's been paying any amount of attention. That's just the military-industrial complex.
Right. There's only so many missile companies.
Not to dismiss the shittiness of it, it's still it's deplorable behavior in my opinion.
If you step back, it's like it looks very bad.
Right. And so it's like, yeah. but then comes the twist here, and the twist is there's been a deal struck with the CEO of BlackRock and President Zelensky of Ukraine to build shit back in Ukraine that has been damaged or disrupted by the war. And wouldn't you know it, all the companies that have been contracted to do that and profit from it are BlackRock. That's why the deal was brokered with BlackRock and not these companies directly. So to really zero in on the crux of the issue, this is how it went down. BlackRock financed all the weapons that went to Ukraine that we sent them, and then turned around and brokered a deal to help rebuild all the shit that was being wrecked by. And they're not only dealing weapons to Ukraine, right, for anybody else who's not paying attention. Right. So just factor that into your equation here.
Not the only customer.
But then they're turning around and they're turning a massive profit on the rebuilding of all that shit that they contributed to happening in the first place. Mm-hmm. And
who's paying for all that?
They're doing it with all of our money.
Oh, well, like, that's a twist.
Like,
weird.
Like I'm not saying, like, it's not like BlackRock just made a bunch of money selling popsicles and they're deciding to spend it on this shit, which would be their prerogative. BlackRock is literally getting all this money from taxes that were paid to the U.S. government, because the U.S. government included all this shit into a couple of spending bills that were approved, and they were bills approved for other shit, and this just kind of got stuffed in there.
So anyway, back to sports. What I would like to think about is the football's currently going on,
and that's a common reaction.
Yeah,
as funny as amusing as that is, that's a common reaction. Wow. And I get it, because it's like, it's big shit, it's high level shit, and like, as a dude who's sitting here reading about it, it's just like, well, what the fuck am I supposed to do about that? And that's a good fucking question, but it's still a question worth asking.
I can't remember
what can you do about it?
Right.
Stop paying your taxes.
Okay, we're gone.
Just kidding.
I can't remember who it was. Yeah. I can't remember if it was Rockefeller, or maybe it was a past Federal Reserve chairman, or it was a banker of some kind, or but they're like, if the normal people knew how the banking system works, there would be a overthrow of the government the next day. By morning, I think.
Maybe.
You're right.
Maybe.
We do put up with a lot of shit. We put up with a lot of shit in our personal life, like we talked about earlier today, about we'll just put up with badass behavior for a long time, and we'll certainly put up with badass behavior with our
IRS.
government and our society. Yes, we do.
Say less.
Dude, I know. See, all the bots are crawling all over this podcast now. They're like, oh dear.
Yep.
Audit.
They said IRS and missiles and BlackRock.
Now we just got to say COVID.
Holy
and
shit.
now we got to
what
say
else? Vaccines.
shit.
Stop.
Alex Jones. Oh no. Andrew Tate. Fuck, we're fucked.
Yep.
All right. Well,
This has been a fun final episode of Just Right.
We made it to 30. That's better than our ancestors did, a lot of them.
Yep.
So fucking A.
For if we were a medieval peasant, we lived a good life.
We did. All right. Well, I think we're going to start to slow down the ride. That was a lot of twists and turns. I felt good. I'm not going to throw up. I felt like throwing up after many of these rides. Yeah, my motion sickness is better.
This ride was a little more on the serious side as compared to Pirates of the Caribbean. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Production values were
I had
a
a
little
good time, though.
whack.
I had a good time.
I did too. I did as well. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. JustARidePod@gmail.com is how you get a hold of us, I believe. That's how you tell us about things and stuff.
It's Just a Ride Pod.
You can visit us at Patreon and throw us money to help us create more things and get more gear and continue to grow and all that stuff.
Our Patreon's Just a Ride Pod too, I think.
I think so.
You're all Ride Pods. I'm calling all of you Ride Pods.
Fine.
Everybody's a Ride Pod.
I'm
a Ride Pod. You're a Ride Pod. What's that
It's
song?
all-
I'm a dude. He's a dude. She's a dude. Because we're all dudes. Hey, why are you
You're a
looking at me
Ride
like
Pod.
that? Don't pretend
You're
like you
a
don't know that.
I don't know anything.
You Canadians are weird.
You guys never saw Good Burger?
Is that? Oh,
No.
yeah. Actually,
Yeah. Come
welcome
on
to
now.
Good Burger. Okay.
Come on now.
Dude, what is it?
There's a lot of bong water.
Yeah, you probably
Resin.
hate it, Jeff.
Go weird.
Welcome to Good Burger.
Welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good,
Good
Burger.
Burger.
Can I take your order?
Speaking of it, did you ever watch Peanut Butter Falcon?
Still haven't. No.
You're such a loser.
Hey,
He doesn't have
listen,
the-
somebody's got me doing this fucking program that eats 2 hours out of my day, so my media time has gone to pretty much nil.
There it goes.
Priorities.
Very much so.
You can't have your cake and Peanut Butter Falcon too.
Oh, Terry Meisner seemed to find the time to watch it, and he's also doing the program and kicking ass. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just saying.
Well,
Fair enough.
You know,
Terry's cooler than me, but my point
that's
stands.
no shit.
I've got a lot of lists. That's on my. No. You didn't even tell me to watch
You
it.
know who
You're
else
like,
is cooler than
fuck
me? Is
Zach.
fucking,
That's because you don't watch movies that I asked you to watch.
True. I
Not
won't. I
watched one,
refuse. Yeah, you can't tell me
the
what to
root
do.
of the issue here is
Don't tell me what to do,
neither
Jeff.
one of us really cares about you like we say we do.
I know, but I recognize that, and you know what?
I love
don't
you so
fucking
much.
care because I still get to be here.
I love you.
You know-
This is our way of loving each other, I think.
You know who I do
You're a
love,
bunch of
though?
cunts.
unlike either one of you is fucking Nikki Apodaca. Apodaca. Because I got a little.
Oh fuck!
I got a little gift from her,
That's right.
and I loved it. So I just wanted to take a second and say thank you. Nikki,
Yeah, I
for
want to
the
jump
card
on that
and the
train,
little
too.
multi-tool and the sweet little poobah bracelets or choker. I'm gonna turn them into a choker. I'm wearing it full. I'm going super.
We'll make sure it chokes him
extra
good, too.
with it.
We'll make sure it chokes him.
But seriously, that was very, very sweet of you and thoughtful, and I appreciate it.
Those are from Christmas. That's our fault for
Yeah.
not getting them to you as
I know,
quickly
but
as
that's-
I want to jump
You
on
can
this
blame
too.
Zach.
Thank you, Nikki. I actually I needed the multi-tool. I was looking for mine when I was
That was
fishing,
fu-
and I lost it. So
yesterday.
that's actually
Yeah.
coming in very important in my life. And then, I mean, she took the time to make bracelets for me, for Polly, for both the kids.
That's really cool.
And yeah, it's super cool. And then she
Same for Monique and I as well. That was
and she made Polly what would you call? I don't know what to call that, but
a
it's
dream catcher.
a dream catcher. No, the dreaming tree. I call it the dreaming tree because I'm a Dave
little
Matthews
tree
fan.
of life.
But
Tree of Life.
Tree of Life.
Yeah.
That's what it is. I just think of dreaming tree of the song.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's super cool. And I'm still not used to
Getting
people
stuff.
treating me this way.
Yeah.
It's really super cool and really appreciated. So thank you very much.
That was very thoughtful.
super awesome.
Thank you. Also,
there-
I want to wish
isn't
a
there a
happy
birthday?
birthday. Yeah, Chris Brooks, our Discord Dookie Slayer.
The Dukes.
Gotta say thank you and for all the stuff that he does. He's part of the Trusted Turd Triad. But also, yeah, happy birthday, dude.
Happy birthday.
What do you like?
Can we send him like a pair of short jean shorts with
Yes.
like
I can pair my shorts.
Daisies on the butt
Daisy
cheeks.
Dukes. Yeah, send them some
Oh
Jeff
no,
ones
we can
uncleaned.
put some asterisks, some kitty buttholes on one on each butt cheek, and they can be as Daisy Dukies.
Just some good old boys. I think, if I remember correctly, he's 39, which is a fun year.
Oh,
That's
1
a
year
fun
away from being dead. Way to go, buddy.
I'm a few years past dead.
Jeff's just like, you motherfucker.
He's a decade past
No,
dead.
it was like actually
It's about right.
It's pretty nice that at my age, I'm probably in better shape than most people at 30. Like, I'm
Fucking
okay with
A.
that.
All right, bro. Shit. But yeah,
Shit.
thank you, Chris Brooks, so much. And thank you to the rest of the Trusted Turd Triad, Don, the Shitbox Wizard, Don Fisher, and of course, Bodie, who wrote our script for Tuesday or Wednesday show this week. Fucking was awesome. Yeah. So thank you. And that's it. So as
That
always.
is all.
And by the way, Terry is cooler than you because he watched Peanut Butter Falcon.
All right, fine. I accept that.
Fine. All right. One last shot. Happy birthday again, Chris Brooks. Thanks, bro. We appreciate you
Fine.
all the work this year.
I
Another
hate
parting
it.
shot?
I hate it.
I'm again.
And no thank you.
Fuck peanut butter and fuck Falcons. All right. As always, we'll talk at you in the future.
It'll seem like the present.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
It's just a ride. Whoa, oh, it's just a ride.
Bing.
Dude, that was more air than I have in my whole body.